On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're celebrating the timeless charm of Craftsman-style living with 4 extraordinary homes, each brimming with history, character, and soulful design. First, we travel to St. Louis, Missouri, where a 1990s home has been reimagined into a crisp, inviting retreat. Yacht-inspired whites and denim blues pair beautifully with warm woods and lush greenery, creating a seamless flow between indoors and out. Next, we head to Atlanta, Georgia to step inside a layered and eclectic home where a designer duo brings storytelling to life in every corner, blending old world charm with playful modernity. Then we journey to Portland, Oregon to explore a vibrant home filled with heirlooms, secondhand treasures, and bold patterns, a joyful expression of the cities and chapters that have shaped its creative owner. And finally, we end in sunny Los Angeles, where a 1920s home celebrates organic textures, natural palettes, and meaningful collections gathered from travels, creating a space that feels both grounded and inspiring. Enjoy!
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Hillary. Welcome to my home in St. Louis. I can't wait to show you around. Come on inside.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, my name is Hillary Muscatello and we are in my home in St. Louis, Missouri. So our home was built in the 90s. It was the last home built in our neighborhood. It is right on the edge of the lake and it is on the edge of a hill as well. And so we have a lot of tiers in our gardening. It's really beautiful and rocks. We moved to this house 3 years ago during COVID, and we really were just craving the outside and having some space. My husband wanted a pool. It's very warm where we live. And so we were on the hunt for a house for a while. And this one popped up. It has a lake in the front, a creek in the back, and a pool. And it was perfect for our family. But what I really loved was that I had a lot of space that I could create gardens, and we could eventually do some chickens and different things like that. And so that is kind of just how we came upon this house. Our home is a craftsman-style home, but it is very traditional in the way that it is set up, with a formal living and dining room in the front. And so when you walk through the home, it feels very similar to just a traditional American home, I would say. So when people ask me about my style and what it is, I have given it a name, and it is called the President's Brother. And what I mean by that is that instead of it being very traditional or very relaxed, it's kind of in the middle. So if you would think about a President's Brother, he would still be classy and, you know, able to go to a nice dinner party, but he can be more relaxed because he's not in the limelight. And so that's how I like to think about my home in the way that I've decorated it. We have a lot of texture, and so instead of picking, let's say, like a satin, I would pick a linen, or instead of picking a glossy piece, I would pick a more matte piece. And so just having that style mantra has really helped me figure out how to keep each room cohesive with the rest of the home. So if I had to give it a name, I would probably say rustic traditional with an elevated feel, if that's a thing. Welcome to our foyer. I believe the foyer is one of the most pivotal parts of your home and when you're designing, because it's what greets your guests. It shows what they're going to be expecting throughout the rest of the house. And so I take a lot of time to decorate my foyers and design them and think about what textures and colors that I want in them. So for me, when we bought this house, I was so excited to have this staircase. I always wanted to be able to have a kind of fun themed runner on a staircase to showcase the house when someone walked in. And this runner is so perfect for our home. We had it custom made. It is wool, and even with the kids and the dog, it still has stayed really clean. I was kind of worried about the white getting a little bit too dirty, but it has been great. It The herringbone is what keeps it traditional, but then that light, almost like chambray denim color is what keeps it relaxed and feeling comfortable and warm. So then when you go throughout the rest of the home, you'll know that you're going to see blues and you're going to see relaxed fibers and textures and also traditional elements because we use this herringbone. So come over here, I want to show you my foyer table. This was a piece I actually saw a really fun inspiration piece for on Pinterest, and I was like, I need to have a piece like that in my home. We are from New England, and there's a lot of louvre doors in New England. There's Cape Cod specifically, we vacation there in the summer, and so I wanted to have something that reminded us of that and where our family lives. So I had been on the lookout for a piece that I could customize, and I was having a hard time finding it. And then one day I walked into one of our favorite local consignment stores, and this chest was $50. So I had a local artisan who paints, she's actually painted a lot of pieces in our home. She painted this for me. I got to pick out the color, make sure that it blended with all of the other colors that we have in the home, like a soft blue versus too navy. And she distress the edges for us. But this has been such a fun piece, and I really feel like it helps draw people in. We always have, well, I always have a candle going. This candle is a cedar candle. It helps create a good, like, warm smell when people walk in. It's very relaxing. And so I always have cedar or bergamot candles on this foyer table. I actually had this painted. This is a great piece I had painted for my husband for our anniversary. And it is a picture of our pond and our dock and everything. So this kind of just sets up the home as well by having this custom piece here. And then I always have humongous branches on, so my friends usually get twigs in their hair as they walk through my house, but they don't seem to mind it. But this is a holly, branches of American holly from a tree in my yard. And so I just feel like it creates a nice warm space. Sometimes we'll put candies on there for our guests, or mint. I like to have mints when a bunch of ladies come over so they don't feel like their breath stinks. So yeah, this is just a fun space, and it needed to be not too deep because I wanted people to sometimes have large groups of people. So every other week we have a small group in our home from our church, and there's about 30 to 40 people that come. So I needed to be able to have plenty of space. You usually only need about 3 feet, but we have about 5 feet here. And I wanted to be able to have that much space so that when a full family walks through, they can make their way through without having to shuffle and feel uncomfortable. So that is why we kept this nice and wide. So this American flag, I also have this in our foyer. It's a little bit more, I would say, probably relaxed than the other pieces, but that's okay with me. So this is an antique that I found at an antique store many years ago. It's hung in many different places of our house. And I loved this soft blue that the sun turned the flag, because it actually blends really well with the cabinet color I chose. And then this is that color that's even on the rug and everything. So this was just sun bleached, but it actually really helped to pull in all those colors from the rest of the house. The homeowners before us were builders, and so they had really made this beautiful space and put a lot of fun amenities into it, like steam showers and speakers throughout. It was really great, but it was in their taste, which was more French country and I would say darker tones. And so we have lightened up the whole house. We had the whole house painted. I had a lot of the woodworking that they had done painted. One of the biggest questions I always get asked is, did you paint all of the trim, or are you going to do it? And the answer to that is no, because we really love how this house feels warm and cozy with the wood trim, and it makes it distinctive from other homes. It also feels very woodsy, which is what we really loved. I actually took a lot of inspiration from yachts as I was designing the house and picking out colors and things like that. So you'll see that throughout the house. It's just this warm yacht type feel with the white, crisp whites, but then a lot of the warm tones, and then also gold and things like that. So we didn't have to do a lot of renovations. We did do a good amount in the kitchen, but everything else was mostly just paint. Here we are in my dining room, and I know a lot of people are turning their dining rooms over to playrooms or office spaces, but we use our dining room all the time, and I really love having this space for bigger parties. And even we do special dinners in here all the time with the kids, and it's so fun. We designed this room off of our favorite restaurant in St. Louis. It's named Annie Gunn's, and it's very like American bar type food, beautiful steaks. They have chili and all of those like really warm, hearty foods, but they do it in absolutely amazing ways. Their culinary art is amazing. And so we always love going there. It's our favorite date night. We do date lunches there, my husband and I, on Fridays. And so I designed this room after that restaurant because it's just a really great pastime for us. In that, even though the restaurant is slightly different than the rest of our home, I made sure to pick all of the hues and the colors to reflect the rest of the home and keep it really warm and earthy. The paint is a very dark green from Faro and Ball called Studio Green, and it gives that like warm, earthy vibe. And in the restaurant, they have a lot of brick on their walls, and so I did not want to do that because we don't have brick on the rest of the house. So instead I went with like the dark green tones. It still feels very like country club warm, and we kept the wood trim because it is so beautiful and thick in here, creates that just cigar lounge type vibe. And this table has a great story. So the previous owners were downsizing and were selling off some pieces of furniture, and they had this table. It fit well in the space. It actually extends even further, and so we can get a lot of people in this room. And so I bought it from them, but it was covered in like a very red, older type fabric. So I had them redone in this beautiful linen with that chambray stripe, again, that's dictating from the foyer, but they're really plush and soft. And so I know a lot of modern type chairs now are smaller and get that like smaller aesthetic vibe, but I wanted something big and cozy so that when we're sitting in here, we want to stay around the food and not have to move to be comfortable. And so these chairs are extremely soft, and my kids have not gotten them dirty. I don't know how that's even possible, but they are cushioned, and the backs are cushioned too, and we really love them. Your head can even recline on the back. So we have long dinner discussions here with friends about politics and religion and all different things that we really enjoy. And this is a great space to do that in. I got this chandelier. It is a Williams Sonoma home chandelier that I found, I could not believe it, on Facebook Marketplace one day. I was looking for something else and someone was selling it. They had just downsized. So I got the chandelier from there. This mirror is one of my probably best finds to date. So my husband is almost full-blood Italian. A lot of the things within our home are indicative of Italian style or from Italy, just because I feel like that creates a good story for us. And so I had been studying and looking at Italian gilt mirrors. I thought they were really beautiful. And this was in our previous home. Our previous home was much more traditional, I would say, in the architecture and very grand when you walked in. So I needed a really big, beautiful mirror to make a statement. So I had been researching, trying to figure out what piece would be perfect for our space. And I came across a lot of Italian gilt mirrors. They were they have a lot of intricate woodwork. They have beautiful detailing even in the glass here on the edges. And I loved this top piece up here. It has florals in it and fleur-de-lis, just very feminine, but also stately. And so I was, again, I have an obsession with Facebook Marketplace. I was on Facebook Marketplace looking for something else, and this popped up for $100. I couldn't believe it. I ran on to First Dibs and Cherish to make sure that it was pretty close to what I had been looking at, and the ones on there were about $6,000. So I ran to the woman. I had all the kids in the car. It was the middle of the winter. Ran to her house and picked this up. I actually kind of felt bad. I'm like, do you not realize what you're selling here? But she didn't care. It has the authenticity sticker on the back, and it's from Italy, straight wood, so beautiful. And I got it for $100. Can you believe it? It was just crazy. So this is one of my favorite exciting pieces, and we've had to do a little bit of gluing work to it over time because it is very old. I actually don't know the age of it, but it's old and the wood has gotten brittle. So we have had to do some work to it, but it is so fun. I was kind of worried when we moved to this house that it would be too stately for this room because this room is a little bit more relaxed. But because it's so big and it has a great story to me, I was like, let's just put it in and we'll see. And now I really love it. It kind of breaks up all of the more comfortableness and gives it just an elevated vibe. So we still feel like we can get dressed and come in here and have a great party. This chest is from a local boutique that we frequent a lot. They have great pieces, and I loved this cutout detailing. It's just a little bit different than the standard furniture that you would find. It kind of reminds me of some French pieces. And so I picked that. I wanted it to be dark to blend with the wall because I wanted the focal point to be the chandelier and dining space versus, and the mirror versus this specifically. So I didn't want the credenza to compete with the mirror or the dining space. So this is the bar cart in our dining room. I serve a lot of drinks from here. We have all of our bar accessories and things like that. And I wanted to be able to create even just a little vignette even within this space. So I found this painting in my uncle's shop. He has a shop in Maine called the Craft Shop, and he sells a lot of antique and vintage pieces in it. And this painting is from a Maine painter. My husband actually had it shipped from Maine to our house for my birthday, which was so sweet because it was too big to get into my suitcase. And so I just love this. It reminds me of home. I vacationed in Maine twice a year for my whole life. It's where my grandmother lives and obviously my uncle too. And so this was a great piece for me. I like how casual it is versus how formal some of the champagne buckets and other things that we have are. I feel like it creates a great juxtaposition, and I even will decorate it for Christmas and things like that. So this is a very special piece to me. This bar cart I get asked about all the time. I was again on Facebook Marketplace. I feel like I'm going to be a broken record here, but I was on Facebook Marketplace for this, and I was looking for a chair for a specific space. And I went to the home, and the chairs were not good quality, and they weren't right. So I was about to leave, and as I walked out of the home, I saw this bar cart, and I asked the owner, "Are you by any chance selling that?" I was like literally shopping in their house, and they said, "You know what? Yeah, we didn't even list it, but we don't need it." And I said, "I would love to buy it from you." So I can't remember how much I spent on this. $100 maybe. But I love it. I think it's so fun, and it actually blended really well with the table. That was not bought at the same time. This was bought many years before, but it blended great with the table, which was awesome. It has this marble top, and then I accessorized it with this fun little "thank you for not smoking." Again, because this is like that American lounge feel, I thought it would be funny. So every time my friends come over and they get a drink, they're like, you know, what is that? I'm like, we're an American bar, but you can't smoke in my house. So yeah, so that's that little piece there. This is one of the gallery walls we have in our home. I love to have, or I need to have, organized wall art and spaces so that I can create messy things, if that makes any sense. Probably not, but a lot of my florals are very wild, and so I need to have organize things on my wall to help with my line of vision. So this gallery wall is very symmetrical. Each print is different. They're all James Audubon prints. They're all antiques. I got from a woman on Instagram. Marie Claire is her name, and she sells lots of really beautiful vintage and antique items. So I got all of these from her and then had them all framed. And you will see throughout the rest of the house that we have a lot of Audubon prints. I think it's very indicative of where we live. I also love that he was an American painter and artist. I love all of the colors that he used, and I used a lot of the inspiration from his colors to pick textiles and things throughout the house because they're all very, they blend so well together. Before I started Tello and Rose, I always knew that I wanted to have my own product line or brand of some sort. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but I knew I wanted something to call my own. And so after college, and actually even during college, I worked in a lot of different types of design studios. So I worked in a home goods design studio. We created pillows and rugs for big brands like Martha Stewart and Macy's. And then I worked in a game design studio, and that was actually my most fun job. We were creating names for games and I got to play with the Risk designer. I got to play do twist with the Twister designer, and so that was my most fun job, I would say, because those people were so unbelievably creative, and we were really creating fun things for families. So that was really helped me to see really down deep into the design process, how far it goes. We would have brainstorming sessions about names for characters and what colors should we put on this game. And it really helped me to understand that even just something as simple as a game is is creating a memory. And so I learned so much from that to be able to bring into my own brand. After I worked there, then I worked in the fashion industry, and I did a lot of social media shoots for different brands within. I worked for TJX, so TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and Home Goods, and I worked on all of their social media platforms. And that helped me to see what really goes into shooting for social media. There's so much more that people don't have any idea about, and it really helped me to finesse my own just skills in how to frame out a pillow, or how to capture the lighting of something. So that really helped me learn a lot about that. And all of those experiences are what helped me create my own brand, picking from each one of them to see really what I wanted to do on my own. So Tello and Rose is mostly inspired by the women in my life. I love creating a women's magazine of sorts with the content that I create. I know that in social media, you're really supposed to niche down into what you do, but I am a full, well-rounded woman that loves to do a lot of things, and I know that my readers do also. And so I like to try to keep all of our content really well-rounded, and I get inspiration from a lot of different cookbooks. I look at old magazines. I have a text string of about 17 people that are from all over the place. My grandmother, my mom, some friends, people that I've worked with before, and we're all on this string together, and I'll ask them, what are you guys doing this week? And can I share that for content? It might be organizing a bathroom, or my mom made a really great recipe and she shared that, so then I'll try to create my own version of it. And so they really give me a lot of just pertinent, helpful content. I also have friends who share ideas with me all the time. Okay, we are just off of the kitchen in the mudroom. This space was a complete redo. It was pink peeling hydrangea wallpaper, and I don't even know what floor we had in here. And so this was the first space we did anything with in the home. It is the bones of the home. If you have lots of children, you understand why I have all of these coat racks, hooks, and I got a lot of inspiration from Gil Schaefer. I love his architecture and design. And so I modeled this space almost exactly after another mudroom that he has done. This is actually a panel. It is not tongue and groove that I found that looks just like tongue and groove. It is the wider plank. And so we had these placed on the walls. This is just a custom shelf that we had made with these really sturdy hooks, because I have a 6-year-old who might potentially hang on his backpack. And so these are all helpful in the summertime. They carry all of our pool towels. In the wintertime, they've got baskets for our mittens, and also all of my children's backpacks and things like that. So this is very clean today. I'm actually really enjoying this. Usually it's littered with lots of school papers and all of our fun stuff. So this is really, I would say, like the room we're in probably the most and doing things in. I have all of my laundry hidden underneath this beautiful curtain that I made. I was actually having a hard time choosing fabric for here, because I wanted something that was like timeless, that I wouldn't feel like I needed to redo. So at first I was going to do a floral, but then I thought, okay, if that gets dirty, that's going to be frustrating. And so I picked this is really thick upholstery fabric, and it lays really well. It never gets wrinkled, and it's got all of our laundry under there. Maybe I could show you. Okay, there it is. I don't know if you want to see that. This is another painting from my uncle's store in Maine. This is an original. I don't know the history behind this one, but it looks just like the Adirondacks that we have frequented. My husband and I have been upstate New York at Lake Placid. It looks just like that, or a Maine cabin. I also loved this little American flag that they had painted in there, and the dogs and white Adirondack chairs. We have those out in our front yard too. So this painting just really resonated with me. I loved the frame because it's very similar to the woodwork that we have in our home, so it tied into that. I had this butcher block custom made. It is matte finish. I do a lot of floral arranging, as you could tell, and so I do a lot of it in here. I didn't want anything that could not get dirty and wet, so this is fully protected butcher block, and we fold our laundry on this. Like, this is just a workhorse for us. So I've got all of our laundry stuff up here, and then the laundries are stacked right on the side over there. So this room is multifunctional. All right, this is another little fun spot in this room. This is actually a keychain holder that the previous owner made and left out in the garage. And I had an idea to make it into a boot rack. So you can see they're all little pegs that are really close together, and I have a heating vent right here that heats the room. And so I had our contractor put it right here over the heating vent so it can dry out the boots if we've been out to the creek or in the wintertime. And so this has been so helpful for us just to keep everything off the floor and not tripping over everything. I found this fun little picture of a yellow lab that reminded me of Penny. These are Penny's little leashes and her little dog hook over here. And then one other thing that's kind of fun in this room, oh, actually two, I created this basket holder. This is where I put all of like the herbs that I go out and get from the garden. I created this, my contractor helped me with this after being at a friend's house, and she had one of these in her kitchen, and I was like, you know what, that's kind of fun. And I'm always having my baskets stacked up against the wall, so we put them up here, and my husband loves when he bumps his head against them. It's like his favorite thing in the world. So so sometimes I have lots of things hanging out of them too, and he does not like that either. So those are nice and clean right now. But the last thing, I have started a duck decoy collection of hand-carved, hand-painted ducks. And so I have, every time I go to an antique store, or even if I'm traveling, I try to find one to add. So right now I have 3, and then I have 1 over on the other side. And I just started about 2 years ago. My stipulation is that it has to be under $15. So it has to be like a really good deal. I don't know why I put that on myself. I just thought it was fun. But they're all so beautiful. One my brother-in-law found, and then my husband stole it out of his bag and put it in our bag when we were traveling home. So one of these is his, but that's okay. And so, yeah, so if you guys ever find one that's $15, let me know and I will buy it from you. But these are all my little things. So hopefully one day I will get them to go all the way across the shelf. That is my goal. Okay, let's go see the kitchen now. Now we are in the kitchen. I designed this kitchen after my grandmother's galley kitchen in northern New Hampshire. I have beautiful memories of her making delicious soups and cookies for us. Some of the recipes I have shared on Instagram. And so I really wanted this space to feel like that. This kitchen was partially done when we moved here. We changed the paint, we changed the backsplash, and we changed the stone on top of the island. I had lighting changed in here, so it was not a full redo, but there was a lot of things that we added. We also added some custom cabinetry too. And I really wanted this whole space to feel nice and light. As you know, if you have children, the kitchen is the heart of the home. Even if you don't have children, and they can get really messy. You bring your stuff in from outside, you bring your stuff home from school, and we're constantly having things just unloaded in here. So I wanted the space to feel clean and open. That way we didn't feel too crammed and like stuff was everywhere. And so we have these beautiful glass doors here that I also used on the other side with the custom cabinetry. I picked this light stone just to keep it nice and fresh. I know I've heard, I guess like white kitchens are going out of style or something silly, but I would say that they never go out of style. This to me is just so traditional. You can accessorize it any way you want. You can make it modern or not. And then I used a very beautiful, I love this tile. This tile is, this backsplash is a hand done square blocked, which I thought felt a little bit more fresh versus a subway. And each tile, it has a different variation of the same creamish gray undertone. And so I love it. It makes it feel earthy and organic without being too much. It doesn't take away from the rest of the kitchen. So we had these cabinets painted in White Dove by Benjamin Moore, and it's just the perfect, for us, it's the perfect almond white soft tone. So another reason why I needed this kitchen to be nice and clean is because this is where we make all of our Italian food. So when friends come over, I have dozens of our signature family meatballs in our freezer, which is why it's so big. And we always are having sauce and meatballs. And so I needed this space to be nice and clean so that when we're making a big mess, we know where to clean it. I create all of our family recipes here in just right here as I'm working. My sister-in-law loves to cook. I love to cook. And so we like to share recipes with each other. And it's really great for entertaining too. So this space here is where I serve all of our food when we have our guests every other week for small groups. So we have between 30 and 40 people every week that come. They actually bring a lot of their own snacks too. It's really fun. It's like a big potluck with snacks. Everybody chows down. It's wonderful. And so this is where I serve all of that. I like to do it in white dishes, and they bring whatever they have, and we have it all laying out here. So this space is so great for that. My children eat breakfast here every morning. And like I said, I was thinking that it was a little bit too big. I was going to redo it when we were redoing the kitchen, but I decided that with how many people we entertain, we've had up to, I believe, 100 people that I've served in this space, and it worked well. They could go around, then they could go move into the other parts of the home and eat. And so it's actually been really great for our family to have an island this big. All right, so this is our little sitting area that we created within our house. This whole room actually used to be 2 different rooms, and the previous owners took it from a galley kitchen with a very small sunroom into this wide open space. And so it's kind of an awkward area. I had a hard time figuring out, they had a couch here, but because we have multiple families and children that are always over, the couch just didn't seem comfortable. People were kind of, falling on each other. So I created this space. This is where we do homework. This is where my husband and I, after we put the children to bed, we will sit and read or catch up on the news or whatever it might be. These are 2 Pottery Barn chairs I actually found for a crazy deal again on Facebook Marketplace. And I really love this piece. I actually just found it at a consignment store. It has a removable tray, so it'd be great for entertaining if I need to move it somewhere. And I might be putting it down in the new studio that we're building, but it's been great here. We can keep our books and our devotion books on it. And it is from Neiman Marcus, but it's from their Italy line. And so I love that because, again, my husband is Italian, and this just kind of like reminds me of his heritage. The gold with the black is so pretty, and I feel like it kind of elevates these casual vibes we have going on over here. So one of my favorite things to do in a space is if you buy something, let's say that's from Pottery Barn and it's very maybe trendy or modern, and you want to make it feel your own, I love to change out the cushions on these chairs. So I had my upholsterer redo the cushions for me, and we came up with this fun Kaufman fabric. It holds up really well with the kids. And so this just kind of made this chair feel like my own. I added our little needlepoint. A man's place is on his boat because my son loves to be outside. And so, so I just feel like this chair, it could be very basic and standard, but we made it our own by changing the fabric and adding some fun pillows. All right, I want to show you this plate rack over here. There is a woman on Instagram who I get so much inspiration from. She has a beautiful house in Connecticut, and she has 2 of these flanking either side of a doorway into her dining room. And when we moved into this house, I loved this breakfast nook. This is where we eat all of our dinners. We have family dinner almost every single night of the week. And so I wanted this to feel like warm and cozy. The joke my husband always laughs at me is, what would be better than eating surrounded by books? I just feel like that's so romantic and beautiful. But I couldn't fit a bookcase here because it's too skinny and we'd always be bumping into it. And so instead of doing a bookcase, I got the idea from her, Mara is her name, to do this plate rack instead. So I had my contractor build this out. It was very simple, and I have cookbooks on it. We've got a little plate of my special puppy, which you haven't met her yet. She'll be around, I'm sure. I got that for Christmas from my children. And then all of these beautiful plates. So I have been collecting these over the last 15 years. I have one from the Mark Twain home, which is in Missouri. So that to me was very special. I have some different antique ones. I've got at really cool estate sales and historic places within in the country. Some of them are from New England. Some of them are from the Midwest. And I have Polish pottery on here. My mother-in-law got me this. My mom's been building my collection over the last few years. And then these plates are my favorite, and you probably saw them on the wall on the other side. But these are very old. They're from the 1800s, transferware. I've been collecting these over time and then just add to them as we go. These cookbooks here I chose based off of ones that we use all the time, but they also, like my husband reads out of this book for most of our dinners to our children, and so we keep that on hand. We've got my daughter's favorite cookie book she makes cookies out of, and so these are all books that we use a lot. And then my mantra, or my icon, Julia Child's cookbook. So we've got a lot of fun books here that we use often. I want to show you a few more spaces that we use every day, some of them that have gotten a lot of views on Instagram, so I think you'll like them. Let's go to the living room. Welcome to the living room. This fireplace is what I always get a million questions about, and I can't take any credit for it. It was the previous owner who did all of this beautiful stonework. They found this, I believe it's an old railroad tie from someplace in Missouri. They had shipped here. It is just so fun and very rustic feeling, and we love it in our house. I decorate it with huge arrangements for Christmas. I do fun things. Right now I have some really cool seed pods from the creek that I brought up with a friend, and some iron candlesticks here. But this is like kind of where I get a lot of my creative energy out because it's such a big space but concentrated. This is where I also make the most mess, so I constantly have leaves all over the floor in here and seed pods and random things because I just find this like a really fun creative place for myself to make things and try and test things out. I've learned a lot about floral design just from testing things out in here, what different types of foams work and how to secure things when I'm creating so they don't fall over. I've had a lot of things fly off of here, and so learning about how to secure things down and all of that has helped me when I've done an event or something like that before, to know, okay, I totally messed up on the mantle. This is how we can flesh this out for an event. So this is a gas fireplace. We have a real fireplace downstairs. We considered turning this over to real, but we kind of like just not having to take care of it and constantly shovel it out and everything when we have a lot of friends over, and I like just not having to feed it. So we have gas up here, but then downstairs is where we relax with the children and watch a movie, and we'll have a real fireplace down there. This beautiful painting, I searched so high and low for the right piece for this space. This is an antique from the 1800s. It is a Danish vintage painting that I found, actually someone had posted it on Instagram, and I commented immediately, sold. And the woman who was sharing it, she was like, I knew this would be perfect for your house. So I was so excited to find it. The reason I love it the most, it's a little bit more farm oriented than the rest of the paintings I have in the house. But the reason I love it is that if you're standing back, it looks like you're just looking outside. It continues the view from the windows. So the lighting, the blue sky, and just the view is very indicative of what we have just outside the windows. And so I feel like in the cold winter months, I can look at this and enjoy it. And then in the summer, it looks like almost like a window to what you're looking at outside. So I was so excited about this piece. It is one of my favorites I have in the house. So it can be really difficult to design a large room like this. Where do I put my seating, and how do I create good walkways? In our last house, I had to figure that out. We had a really large room similar to this. I mean, I hop over the dog. And I had to do a lot of trial and error to figure it out. So in this home, we have our general seating area is here. We have a very large couch that you can comfortably seat 3 people. I specifically picked out 3 cushions for that couch versus having 2, because I wanted to be able to let people sit comfortably without like leaning into each other. So this is a large couch with very comfortable 3 seating. We have a large love seat here. So this is actually probably like a standard size regular couch. And so 2 people can sit here. We have large enough spaces for people to walk. So the walkway that you have when you're trying to move between spaces usually should be about 36 inches, but this is a little bit smaller, and it's okay. I've actually watched when people come over to make sure they're not bumping, and it's been fine. So to have these slightly closer has been able to give us more space on this side to have the chairs. I think it's really important when you're creating big spaces to not, the number one thing I see people do when they have a large room like this is push everything against the wall, have a small rug in the middle, and then they put a coffee table on top of it. So then when you're sitting down, you can't put your feet up, you don't have anywhere to put your drink, everything's squished, and then the room looks huge and vacant. And so trying your best not to do that by giving yourself a rug. You can actually look on Google I Google this all the time. These are the dimensions of my room. What size rug should I get? And you can figure out the size rug that you need for your room, and then bring all of your furniture, have it at least halfway onto it, and if not fully. And that will give you those intimate, comfortable spaces for people to be able to have conversation. You don't want everyone so far back that you feel like you're shouting when you're talking. You also want them to be able to see your face when you're talking, and make sure that it's well lit enough. I like using low lighting, so make sure you have enough lamps and things to give their eyes and their face, dimension, so you can see who you're talking to. You can let your coffee table be the space that dictates where your walking spaces are. So we have a very large coffee table here. I use it to kind of put out different ideas for my family. So right now I have a Ralph Lauren book that I love, that I'm getting some inspiration from that specific picture for our bedroom. And then I have my James Audubon book here. My son was actually, last night, he picked this, the magnifying glass up, and he was looking closely at all of the brush strokes and the beautiful feathers within this bird. And so I like to use this space as kind of like a little gallery for my family. I change it out often. This is a really amazing root that I found outside, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna place that in a bowl. To me, something resonates with me with roots. I don't know what it is. I love the texture of them. I love just like the idea of rooting in your home and being really rooted and grounded. So maybe that's why I love roots. I don't know. I often will bring them inside and like dry them out. But so that's just a root from the creek. And then we have some fun other little like shells from a trip that we went on. This is also from the Bahamas, that conch shell we found on a little deserted island. So, and then of course my florals that I love to do. So I feel like this coffee table speaks a lot to my family. It gives my family things to look at. It tells a story, but it also creates a walking space so that I know where to go within this room. And then we have these are antique chairs. We have these set back a little bit. When we have larger groups, we'll pull them in, but I have them seated back so that you can still walk through. We open this door every day to let the dog out to go to the bathroom, and she's sleeping right now. But so this is pulled back from here, but you could pull it in. You just don't want to have a lot of empty spaces within your room, like big wide open spaces. You want to pull everything in so that everyone feels really comfortable and that they can talk. This is our library nook. I designed it specifically for my children. It used to be a wet bar. They had a keg here and a sink and all of this stuff, and then a huge bar here that you could serve. Because our island is so big and our living space and cooking space is right there, I wanted to be able to have something different here. I wanted to have a space that my children could study and do their homework, be on the computer without me having to worry about what they're looking at, because they're sitting right here in the middle of our home. I did the library style just because we really enjoy reading, and I had a huge collection of books from our previous home that I wanted to make sure that we displayed. This is kind of fun here. So this is a structural wall that we could not take out unless we spent, I think it was going to be $10,000 to put a header in. I didn't want to do that. It didn't feel necessary to me, and I really love creating smaller spaces versus wide open in spots like this because I want it to feel cozy and comfortable. So instead of taking this out or making it just a column, we created a bookshelf in it. So we made it look like it's been here the whole time on the side, and I had my contractor just build a little bookshelf right into the wall that was here before that's holding up the rest of the space. And this just kind of has a lot of different books that we use all the time. I tried to make them aesthetically pleasing, but then ended up just having it being a regular library because that's what we need it for. My kids do homework here most nights. We've got my husband's seltzer fridge. He's obsessed with seltzer. And this is a new item that I just got for Christmas. My mother-in-law got me a record player. I had been wanting one for so long, and that was my Christmas gift this year. We listened to Nat King Cole, and it was crackling while the fire was going with the Christmas tree. It was so wonderful. So I've been really excited about that. My biggest source of inspiration, I would say, is I grew up going to Ralph Lauren stores with my dad. He's such a smart dresser, and that I loved the juxtaposition of the blue and white chinoiserie vases with the crisp white shirts and polo type atmosphere, men's den, but also elevated. And so I just loved that growing up and seeing all of that. And so that, I would say, is, as far as the style and design that I look to, that is one of my biggest influences. What I love most about this home is really the outside. We live outside probably 9 months out of the year, so it's always really hard for us in the winter. We still get out there, but I love the outdoor space that we have, and I love being able to bring that inside. We are always hiking and walking, we're boating on the lake, and being able to bring those elements in of like rocks, and like I said, I like to decorate with weeds, which is so silly, but I think you'll think they're pretty. Bringing in the weeds and just the different elements of the outside is what I really enjoy about this. But just having the space to move and to be outside in God's creation is my favorite part of our house. Let's go see our primary bedroom next. Okay, now we are in our primary bedroom. This has been a labor of love. I have been working on this room for a couple weeks, and I cannot believe it came together in time. This is an antique mirror that I had seen a replica of on our house, and I thought it was really cool. But I was on Facebook Marketplace, again, looking for something else, who knows what, and saw this. It was in a really ugly, like bronze, like someone spray painted it. And it's the original. There was a tag on the back. And so I believe that some of these brands maybe had seen an original and recreated their mirrors after them. But this is the original antique. And it is so beautiful. It's all wood inlay. There are some, funky things with it because it's an antique, but it doesn't bother me at all, some of the reflection things and things like that. But it is so beautiful. So I actually painted it this cream color and distressed it myself to bring it back to what it probably originally was closer to. And then over here, this is our bed and side tables. These are vintage. I have a pair of vintage lamps that I got at an estate sale. My husband was in the car and I said, "Can you please just pull over for 2 minutes? I have to run in there." It was a very standard normal house, so I don't know what made me feel like I really needed to get in there that day, but I found this pair. They were $75 a piece and they are absolutely beautiful. They're hand painted, there's texture to them, and the gold is just gorgeous. They're such beautiful colors. So I've had them in a couple different places in our home, in our homes as we've moved. This is a piece of art that I created just to kind of bring in the outside into this room. The room was starting to feel a little bit too clean for what I like to do. And so I just created this art. I'll probably be adding more to it and doing a frame and things like that. But it's a work in progress. It actually has moss and it has roots from outside that I painted to match the rest of the painting. And it also has some seeds and like leaves and stuff like that. I sprinkled those all on there to give it texture. So I painted most of it to be the same color as the canvas, but it has some texture and fun, like warm vibes to it. So I wanted to do that to just make the room not feel too clean. Still wanted it to feel warm and rustic. This bed was made by the previous owner, and they were actually going to get rid of it because it's hard to get in and out of the room, and we told them we would purchase it from them. So it was actually just in the standard pine color, kind of orangey yellow, and we had it painted by the local artisan. She painted it white and distressed these sides, and I love it. I think it feels just like it's cozy and fun, but it also feels a little grand. He had it high off the ground, and so I really enjoyed it. I also love the history behind it and that he made it himself. Okay, I want to show you my favorite art piece in the house. This is a pastoral painting that, again, I got on Facebook Marketplace. I had been searching for some different types of art, and this one popped up for $250. I couldn't believe it. It's even like, gosh, I can't even imagine how much the frame was, never mind the original painting. And I really love the Hudson River Valley painters, the group of painters. They had, gosh, just beautiful colors, and I have a book from them, and every time I look through it, it just makes me so relaxed. And actually need to go to the museum. They have one right near my brother's house. And so this reminded me of their paintings. And I could not believe I got it for $250. Such a steal. This is the Ralph Lauren lamp to keep this space elevated and classy and clean. And then over here I have just some pictures of my children and a clock and something for my jewelry. But when I'm designing a little space like this, I like it just to feel clean, because there are days where I plop my purse on here, or I have a stack of laundry that I need to put away. And so I like having this nice and open. I don't want to clutter it up with too many things. And it just gives it nice and good clean lines for your eyes. Okay, this is my #1 parenting hack of all time. This chaise lounge was actually here in the home. The owners were going to throw it out, and I said, I think we can restore it to its former glory. It was a really beat up, like purple pattern. I think their dog slept on it a lot. So my upholsterer redid a lot of the cushions in it, and I had it upholstered in this really comfortable, relaxing plaid that didn't take over the room. That way I could, if I needed to change bedding at any point, this would still go well with it. And because the reason it's my parenting hack is because my children sleep on here all the time. They take naps on here. If somebody's sick, I don't have to whip out a sleeping bag from under my bed or something. They could just plop right on here. I've already got a blanket. We've got another blanket back there, and they just go to sleep. It's so nice. I wish I thought of it 10 years ago when my daughter was born. But it is just so helpful to have. I'll read on here too, but this is really like my kids' napping zone, and it's so helpful, and it looks pretty. So that's a bonus. So I think what makes a home have a soul and makes it come alive is really taking all of the things that you love and putting them into it. I think sometimes if you don't feel confident in your design, you can try to copy someone's aesthetic down to a T, and you lose yourself in that and who you are and what your family likes to do. And so I would say art for me is really what gives soul. We have art from all over the place, some really cool, amazing artist, but then also like my kids have drawn some things, and I made a piece last night for over my bed last minute for this shoot. And so I really feel like art is kind of the soul of the home to me. Also just having your family pictures and all of the warm textures within your home that you enjoy and that work well for your family is what will create a memory and a moment in each space within your home. I'd love to show you our primary bathroom next. We just finished putting the final touches on it. Let's go have a look. Now we are in our primary bathroom. This one I feel like was probably the least amount of work. They did a really beautiful job in here. We just did a lot of painting and some custom accessories. The worst part about my bathroom is that because they made this huge, beautiful shower, there was no space for the toilet. So I'm always trying to hide it on my videos and things like that. And so if you are designing a bathroom and it is custom and luxurious, we have heated floors and a beautiful tub that looks out over the land. If you're designing a beautiful custom bathroom like that, please find a spot for the toilet before you finish your design, because honestly, it's like, why would you do that? But anyway, we had the only things that we did in here to freshen it up were to paint the cabinets. They had these in like a really creamy yellow, and we lightened them to white dove, which we have throughout the rest of the home. I also added these nice Kichler lighting pendants. I love hotel lighting. I think it's really beautiful. It actually is really good for even doing your makeup, these specific lights. So I had these done. My husband and I have his and her vanities, which I'll show you mine in a second. And in here, I often find it difficult to figure out what type of art to put in a bathroom because you know, it's just kind of like an awkward space. And so I decided to put all of these plants up here. I got the idea from a visit to the Four Seasons. They had some really beautiful vases on the wall with plants, and I was like, you know what, I think I could do that over, this is a transition into our closet. And so we have those up there. It just fills the vibe of the rest of the house, and it's clean. You don't have to look at like someone's face in a piece of art staring at you when you're getting ready for the day. So I love that it's kind of just unintrusive and fills in, it makes the space feel a little bit more warm. I think that's one of the hardest parts when you're designing a bathroom is how to add warmth. So how we did that in this area, in this room, is one, by the color of the carpet that we chose, and that is right outside of our bathtub. And then two is with these custom curtains I had made. My friend who is a seamstress created these for me. I designed them, and with her help, she had the idea of the buttons, which I thought were so cute. They're a very fine ticking stripe. I did not want straight ticking stripe because that can tend to go into farmhouse. This is a little bit more refined of that. The pattern is a little bit closer. It's not as faded. And so, yeah, I really love these curtains, and they don't obstruct the view. So you can see we have full view of the lake and the creek and the pastures here and my studio and all of that. So we can see everything from these windows, and I did not want anything to impede that view. Another way that you can add warmth is just by adding some really nice accessories to your space, things that you use all the time. I've got my devotion book here and one of my favorite oils. I'll show you my side of the vanity over here. It's very similar to my husband's. I have a little bit more space than he does, which is nice. And I keep all of my makeup and beauty products and stuff on this side. We've got our medicines and things over here. So I like having this right where I can see it for the kid, so the kids are never getting into things. And so this is on my side of the space. I've got two mirrors, which is so super helpful, and this is fun. So I think when I was little, my mom used to collect all the shells when we would go on vacation, and she had it in a big jar right next to her bathtub, and we would go, and I remember her getting ready and putting on makeup, and I would look through the shells. I just thought it was really fun. It's a good memory for me. So I had put all of ours in there too. When we go on trips, I have the kids find them, and then they'll come and look at them in my space. So it's a little bit of remembrance of my mom. I would say when I say the word home, I think of candles and sitting on the couch reading a book. I think of drinking my favorite jasmine tea and watching my children play. We have a lot of background music that we play, again, to engage those senses. And so having classical music playing while we're reading together, or even watching, we love watching movies. That's one of our favorite like Friday night things to do. So home to me is just being quietly in a space together and enjoying each other in a relaxed atmosphere.
Hey, Homeworthy, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Palmer.
Welcome to our house in Atlanta, Georgia. Why don't you come inside and we'll show you around.
Hi, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Melissa Arcaro,
And I'm Palmer Shallon.
and welcome to our Craftsman house in the west end of Atlanta, Georgia. Our house was built in the early 1900s, probably around 1920. For the most part, when we bought the house, it was in pretty much in the condition that it was built. The floors are all original. There was some renovations that happened in the kitchen that sort of made it a little bit more modern, and that's where most of the work that Palmer put in, as far as just changing out some countertops and making cabinets. But beyond that, it's pretty much like original how it came.
We came here from Los Angeles 2 years ago, and with the intent to buy something, and we had narrowed it down to a couple between this house and one other house, and there's a local grocery store, like a little co-op around the corner called
Westview Corner Grocery
Westview Corner Grocery.
Yeah.
And that cemented it. It's just a cute place. It's in walking distance.
Yeah,
with
pretty
the other
much
one.
when we saw the grocery store, I was like, that's the house. Not to say that the house isn't special, because it
Yes.
certainly is. They hadn't done as much renovations to it, so it was kind of nice. It was still like you could see the character. You could see what the house actually was and what was it intended to be. The grocery store just sort of sealed the deal.
We saw a lot of houses that had a lot of the original character on the outside, and then you walk inside and it was a gut renovation and it had no original character left. In LA, we lived in a warehouse that I converted, and it was like in an industrial area. To me, I like cozy spaces. And so I always want it to be calm and cozy. So I gravitate towards more warm tones and textural fabrics. And Melissa is the same in terms of texture and
Texture. I love pattern, love mixing things. But I think in this space in particular, it was kind of like it led us in a lot of ways. I mean, both of us like earth tones a lot. We love woods. But the space itself sort of was asking for some of it. Like it just made sense. So it is our personal style, but it's also what is the style of the house. Because in LA, our house was all metal, and so Palmer was welding all the furniture, and it was a totally different look, but it was also a big industrial warehouse. So woods wouldn't have really made as much sense. So I don't know, I think we're both kind of adaptable and depending on the space is probably what is going to come out of it, whatever makes the most sense. Almost everything in the space, there's a story behind it. We've been together for 22 or 3 years, somewhere in there, and so we've collected a lot along the way. Had a lot of friends who are artists, worked on a lot of projects that have sort of brought different things into our lives. And then, of course, like Palmer builds the majority of the furniture. So, we've talked about the wood or the fabric that's going to go into it. So everything's just really personal in the space. Welcome to our living room. This is a picture window seat that when we moved in was actually a lot smaller. And so one of the things we wanted to do was make it wider. So Palmer built it out a bit so you could sit on it a bit more comfortably. And then underneath, I like being warm as often as possible. So having like blankets within reach was important. So he built all this great storage space so that we can have blankets and then games, because we both love games and I love puzzles a lot. So he created that for us, and it's a really nice place to enjoy coffee or tea in the morning. Over here is a wood carving print that an artist I found at a gallery here. It's Kylan Art. His name's Todd Anderson, and he actually is out of South Carolina, but it's awesome, and his work spoke to me immediately when I saw it. So we thought it was such a nice piece to have like right when you walk in the door. It's really special. We have a couple more pieces of in the dining room as well.
There's at a salvage yard I found, they had a bunch of oak handrail. When you first enter the house, you were seeing sort of the back of the furniture, and so I wanted it to be open. So with these motifs, I just used oak dowel rod to construct the sofa so that you see the upholstery through the back of the sofa when you walk in. And so the sofa, armchairs, and the coffee table were all done with the same oak handrail that I found.
The fabric we shopped together and kind of just wanted something that worked with the wood and the warmness that already existed in the space. And when we found this, we liked that it had a little bit of texture and more than just being like a flat orange, and thought it looked really nice with the wood. And all the pillows, this is a really cheap way to do pillows because pillows are expensive, inserts are expensive, fabric can be too sometimes. But we shopped at like Goodwill, Salvation Army, thrift stores, and we get inserts and then basically take off the pillows. Sometimes we'll even save the zippers and then just make the covers ourselves. So sort of random fabrics thrown together, but it's just a cheap way if you want to have lots of pillows in your house and kind of elevate it a bit to do that. So the majority of the pillows I sewed in the house. That was my contribution.
Which is common with most homes here is they all come with fireplaces. Most of them are non-functional. They used to be, it was a gas fireplace, and it was just too much to get it operating again. So this is a Zellige tile, which is from Morocco. It's like a cement tile that has just naturally a lot of variance in color and thickness. So there's just a lot of sort of depth to the piece. So I tiled the piece, and then we've been together for 22 years, but we've been married for about 2 years. 3 years. 3 years.
3 years.
That we got married during COVID, and we lived in a warehouse in downtown Los Angeles, and the back alleyway we turned into is where we got
made this like big sort of production, but it was just the two of us.
And
our good friend Judge Craig Mitchell, who married us.
Yeah. There's a lot of garbage in downtown Los Angeles, so I had made this 12-foot tall puppet out of cardboard and old advertisements, that just garbage that I found around in Los Angeles. And so this is like a miniature version of the 12-foot tall puppet that I built that has just references to a lot of special things and that we loved about Los Angeles and California. Like, this is the figure itself is based on Salvation Mountain in Salton Sea, which was an amazing artist named Leonard Knight built. It was a labor of love. And then there's the Griffith Observatory and
aspects of Bob Baker's Marionette Theater.
Yeah, the Bob Baker Marionette Theater, which was a really magical place in downtown Los Angeles that was torn down. They moved to a new location, but the original location This is based around the marquee and the entryway. And then you have the Disney Concert Hall, which is just an iconic Los Angeles
And then
place.
we did like a collage of friends and family, and it was basically, this is a miniaturized version of our wedding in this kind of crappy like back alley in Los Angeles that we made really sort of magical and special.
When we got married, we didn't want rings or anything, and so we get this produce from a company called Imperfect Produce that it's all the stuff that they can't sell at stores, but on their boxes it says imperfect together, and so I just cut that out and I made a bands, one that said imperfect and the other one said together. And so those were our sort of wedding bands. Yeah. But someone stole it. Someone stole the bands from us. And so, and Imperfect wouldn't give us a box to do it. So I had to just cut out cardboard and paint it back in again. So
in our love altar, some of it means things because it's really special or personal, and some are just things like the hand. There's actually like quite a few hands around. There's one right at the entrance. There's some on our coffee table, on our dining room table. So hands just seem to play a lot of roles in our space, and even us, like rather than wedding rings, we tattooed
our
initials.
Our initials.
So
that's our business is
Sama.
PSAMA,
Sama
Palmer Shell.
So we just like hands a lot. This little piece is a piece from Almighty Op, which is a pretty cool puppeteer project out of Los Angeles. It's underground. It's so cool. And they were selling these, and I love them, and I love supporting them. So that just made sense for the love altar. This is a box that we actually got in Atlanta, and it's made out of matchsticks. And then they created a little design that said love, and it was just really neat. We both liked it a lot.
Yeah, there's little objects. There's a photo of our wedding. So then there's
you can see the puppet in the background.
And then to like go even like other layers. So then I make puppets too. So I created a puppet of Melissa and myself in our wedding outfits that are up here, and the judge.
So Palmer and I met, we were both studying film and television at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah. I had been asked to work on a student project, and he told me that there was going to be this guy that was going to pick me up and take me to meet them at the location. And he never picked me up. And I called the guy I was working with and I said, hey, the ride never came. And apparently the ride was Palmer. You didn't say what happened.
I was intimidated by her.
That's what he says.
Yeah.
He says he's intimidated. So he saw me and he left me. And then I had to get another ride. But then when I did see him at the shoot, I immediately saw him and I was like, that's the coolest guy I've ever seen. And then, so then we ended up talking and yeah. The books on our bookshelf, I can't say that we've read all of them. Both of us like being surrounded by books, and definitely some of them speak to what our interests are. So I love origami. So we have some origami books. Palmer's actually into tarot a bit, so there's some of that. And then a lot of it's just really good fiction, and we both are big readers. Definitely haven't read every book in the house. And the books we have bookshelves in numerous rooms, but we both like being surrounded by books.
Yeah, and this was another addition that I put in is just because it was weird is like the fireplace is off center from where you would normally put it, so it was just this heavy weight over here. So I just created this sort of asymmetrical bookshelf so that it kind of pulled some of the space back through that kind of balanced the room. When we moved in, it was like 12 inches deep. I don't know, so I made it deeper, and then we got this, it's like a subtle detail, but we have this anaglypta wallpaper that we put in the corner so that you just get a little bit of texture in this corner, but it's a nice little cozy spot to read a book. There's a lot, I mean, everything has a story in here, but so this was our dog Sane, Melissa's first dog ever. She was a carny dog, like literally traveled around with the carnival. We found out she was a hermaphrodite. She was Yeah, she moved around with us for years. She passed away maybe 8 or 9 years ago. We've hosted over the years in Los Angeles through Airbnb and two amazing organizations called Servas and Couchsurfing, where we've just had a lot of interesting people from around the world stay with us. And one of our guests drew this picture of Pip Pap.
This piece here is from a place in Los Angeles, and it's people who have developmental challenges. They give them all the supplies they need to create artwork, and then they make the artwork available to the public. And then this was a piece I got here in Atlanta, and it just basically says, "Cool chicks on break, 2 cool chicks." And they're on a smoke break. I loved it immediately. I thought it was so cool. It's on cardboard, actually. And then when I brought it home, Palmer built a frame for it, and it made it here. I don't think it's one of his favorite pieces, but I really liked it, so it found a home in our home. The peachiness that comes through sometimes, and I think when we were both picking out colors for this space, we were definitely leaning towards a lot of greens, but I kept being drawn to pinks. Palmer was trying to pull me back from that as much as he could, but sometimes it seeps in.
It's called Rare Sun by Benjamin Moore, I think. Maybe Dunn Edwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a nice sort of neutral, warm tone. But yeah, it does have a sort of a peachy, depending on the light.
The beaded loom necklace is pretty awesome. This is an artist. His name's Keith Pearson, and he's a Native American artist. He's a Choctaw artist, actually, out of Oklahoma. And I met him when I was working on a production, and he was helping us with some artwork that we needed. And when I saw his work, I loved it. So I basically just said, I love a Joshua tree, and maybe we could have some sort of animal in there as well. So we did a horned toad, and it just kind of brings a little bit of Southern California into our space as well.
This was it's a piece I built. There's nothing too special, but I just used half round dowels, just so it was a textural piece and a place to hold a lamp. Yeah.
But it was nice too, because the way he built it, you're coming from the entrance, and so by cutting the corners, it sort of gives it a little bit more of a flow coming in, so that you're not running into anything or it's sort of impeding the way. So I really like that he did that when he was building it. And this piece is by another awesome Choctaw artist. I think he's one of the only people that actually does traditional Choctaw pottery, like sourcing the clay himself, digging a hole where the clay is, or the pieces are actually baking. It's really cool. I even got the opportunity to go visit him in Oklahoma and see his studio. But we were able to rent a lot of his work for a production I was on. I was able to have this piece, which Palmer built a little stand for it because it's so special that it deserves its
needed
moment.
to be elevated. Yeah.
And then we have another piece we'll show you in the dining room that is his, that I really, really love as well.
So then moving from the living room into the dining room, it was a large, originally double doorway. Because it is so open between the dining room and living room, Melissa wanted something sort of special to pass through. And so this is a piece that I had done that is using the tramp art style. And when you're entering it, I carved in the words "we are" as just a reminder to internalize. And on the opposite side is "we feel," so to externalize. And then we have my astrological sign, and I'm a fire sign ruled by Mars. And then on the back side I have Melissa's astrological sign with she's a water sign ruled by the moon. The archway to the table was there's a thing called tramp art, and they would take old cigar boxes and they would break the cigar boxes into small pieces, and with a knife you carve notches over and over again, and then you layer up to build a lot of times jewelry boxes or picture frames, small objects. And I had been doing that for the dining room, the passage from the living room to the dining room. That was the biggest piece I've ever done, and that was, it's thousands and thousands of little notches in the wood. My favorite furniture piece that I built was probably our dining table. I like cork quite a bit, and I had done, we had, the dining room is a formal space. Sometimes it can be the formality of it makes it, people don't end up using it. So I like low furniture to begin with, and so the dining table is particularly low, and it's wide, and it just feels more casual. But I think that's my favorite piece that I've done in the house. So that takes us into the dining room, which it's a large space, and so I built the table scaled to the size of the room and also to the sort of dimensions of the room itself, which I had done with cork flooring. That I got 2 different color of cork that I cut into just little these diamond shapes here, and then I tiled the pattern on the table itself. And then because it's so gigantic, when you're sharing a meal, it was difficult, so I built a giant Lazy Susan for the center of the table as well. And all the chairs sit low to the ground, so you can sit cross-legged. They're extra wide.
We had the chairs, picked out the fabric, Palmer built them, and then we realized we just wanted something more to kind of break it up a bit. So we found this fabric. I made the pillow covers for it and then put it there, and it just helped kind of bring a little bit more texture and something else to the space, and also help tie in the rug. Neither one of us are drawn a lot to black and whites, but and these are a little bit more black and neutral, I guess, but it seemed to work here, and so it was kind of fun mixing that up. And if you don't know how to make pillow covers, it's YouTube. It's so easy, and it's like such a money saver if you want to save a little bit. It helps a lot. And then on the table, we kind of talked about what we should put on it. I really wanted a bonsai, but inside it's not going to work. So Palmer kind of just put together this little moss-covered rock dish, just kind of nice. And then this is another one of my friend Edmund Perkins' pieces, which is a traditional Choctaw style. It's a bat bowl, and the same thing. He, sources the clay himself, and is working in this traditional art form. It's really beautiful. The fact that he's still preserving this is just awesome, and it's got great detail. And so we really liked the idea of getting to put it here in a space where sort of sharing and talking and having fun, hopefully. This was, people ask all the time, like, Palmer, did you make that hand?
No,
he
I
didn't
feel
make
like I
the hand.
need to make one.
Yeah.
We get asked it all the time.
Yeah, but no, that was just a find. And yeah, I think in the tiny house we're building, it's seems to be that we're finding a lot of feet. So maybe that's going to be what happens there. It'll figure itself out, I guess, along the way.
The wallpaper is from a company called Mind the Gap. I believe they're out of Transylvania.
I think it is. It's Transylvania, and they've got really fun designs.
Yeah.
So much fun wallpaper.
Yeah. And in here, we just wanted it to be like sort of grounded and natural. So this is this fun sort of forest scene. This was original detailing within the dining room. I just had to, I cut out the trim work, wallpapered, and then put in new trim to cap it. And then we took the green that we pulled from this onto the ceiling, and then I went ahead and painted the walls and the ceiling as well to kind of make the space feel sort of cozier. And then because we're so close to our neighbors, looking out the windows was not really a pleasant thing. And so I put up this shoji window film, and then built these grates out of oak. And then at nighttime, I have lights on the back side of the window, so it just kind of, they light up with a warm glow in the evening.
Yeah, it almost looks like if there was like a red moon rising or setting.
Yes.
Because the way he has it set up, it sort of has a movement to it, and it's just kind of cool.
It's a little dramatic, but there's
it.
drama in this room, so I just lean into it. And then the last is the sconces. There's an amazing woman named Jamie that she owns the Sound Bath Center in Los Angeles. Just incredible, her and her partner Robert. And I had learned how to play gongs and crystal bowls from her. And I had done work on her studio. And so with these sconces, I just had just some small wind gongs that kind of capture the light and reflect it outward.
And we shopped and shopped and shopped when we were talking about, we knew we wanted sconces on either side, and we could not find any sconces that either of us could agree on. And so was it you came up with the gong idea, didn't you?
Yeah.
He came up with the gong idea.
Well, these we got from Etsy.
And that was another one. We struggled with the lights in this
Yeah,
one.
this one was a hard one.
We just couldn't seem to like find the thing that we thought would work. But when we finally saw these and we liked that it was different shapes, it worked. But more than anything, it's like detail is so important. And rather than just having like a cord, Palmer found this great sort of, it's not vintage, but it has a vintage look to it.
I had to custom make a canopy for the wiring of it, but yeah, it's lampshade. There's so little option. It's just like a couple of things, and they're always so boring. And that was one that I found that had some character to it.
We also wanted to have sort of two mirroring pieces of artwork, and because I really fell in love with Todd Anderson's work, we went back to Kylan Art Gallery and saw these two and really, really liked them. Some of his work, like the one in the living room, doesn't have as much color, but these did, and we thought it would look really great in here. And then down here we had this little corner, and so Palmer built a cabinet space, and just for when we're having friends over or we're cooking in the kitchen, we have music we can listen to. And then also there's more hands right here.
These are from the puppet, the original puppet.
These are the puppet hands from our wedding, which has same thing, like the handmade or tattoos on them. And so it's what's left of the puppet. The puppet's no longer, but the hands still exist. So I would say when we host, it's definitely a joint affair. I am more of the person that wants to cook and get involved with the menu. Palmer is like super interested in lighting. Every light in this house pretty much has a dimmer switch on it. So at all moments, he likes light to be in a certain way. So he's in charge of lighting. He's definitely in charge of music. And then also scents. We like to burn a lot of frankincense here. And we like when people to come in to sort of have all of those senses brought in, so it makes it a little bit exciting and fun. And food-wise, we're both vegan, and I love cooking all kinds of food. Like I love Indian food, Thai food, everything. So yeah, I pretty much like to kind of cook up a big storm, have some really good drinks, maybe a cocktail with mezcal in it. Sometimes we mix kombucha in it as well, as one of our favorites. That's pretty much the kind of parties we like to throw.
Kombucha, mezcal, and a little bit of Topo Chico.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Working with Palmer is awesome. We get along really well. Mm-hmm. We enjoy getting to be creative together. It really works pretty great. He's super easy to be around, and I just trust him so much when it comes to design. So for me, I really love it. I really enjoy getting to work with him. He comes in and I think he really has the vision for what the design is, and then more so like the detail stuff is where I come in. And I love shopping fabric. I love shopping art. And so we kind of just fall into place as far as like where our strengths are. He takes the lead, and for good reason, I think. So this is our kitchen. This was probably the room that had the biggest transition. It was quite different when we moved in.
Yeah, it was like white quartz, white cabinets, white everything.
Yeah.
It was, and it's just not anything that we're interested in. Yeah, so I demoed all of the countertops and just did this walnut butcher block, which just has, it's a craftsman home. It's just warm woods is what it needed. And then I rebuilt, I kept all the original, the cabinets that they had put in place, but I just refaced the fronts with just pine and rattan that I stretched on the upper cabinets, and then just regular cabinet fronts in here. the white is not white, it's New White by Farrow and Ball, which just has just a warmer tone to it. So I did that on the wainscoting. So I added wainscoting throughout the space, and then covered up there was some white subway tile in here. And then it came with which people thought, it came with a new stove, like a stainless steel stove, and everyone thought we were crazy, but we got rid of it and got this, vintage
green stove.
avocado stove.
But it works great.
It works awesome.
And we thought it made a little bit more sense here.
Yeah.
This was something that we've had for years, and I love it. And I love it being over where I cook. But it says the diet starts tomorrow. It's kind of silly, but it's fun to have in the kitchen. And it's kind of just moved space to space to space with us. These are Etsy pot holders that you can get that are made out of mud cloth. Then beyond that, Palmer put up a magnetic knife board, so it just kind of is convenient. So this was, when we first moved in, this was just a whole wall, and then Palmer added the wainscot so that it would help just break it up, bring in texture, rather than just feeling like this expanse.
Yeah, so part of the charm of older buildings is all of the extra detailing that is put in. So because it's so tied into the dining room with all of the paneling, I just wanted to carry the line across into this space and kind of just make it cozier, I think, which wainscoting does.
This piece of art was also an artist that I got to meet while I was working on a project. His name's Bahi Whitethorn. He actually passed away this last year, but he's a Native American artist. His work is gorgeous, and this was actually a piece he had done years ago that I purchased, but I just thought it was really cool. So the stained glass windows, before we had windows here that just kind of saw next door, which it's not really the, I don't know, most attractive sight. So we talked about, what do we do? Should we do drapery? And instead I was working with this stained glass artist. His name's John Yukas. And he was local to Atlanta. So I talked to him and I told him what we had, and together Palmer and him came up with this design, and it mimicked the rug a bit that we have here. And John put it together. Palmer built the frame and then put it up, and it sort of is a really nice block, and also nicer than having maybe fabric there that can get kind of grubby when you're washing dishes. But yeah, it turned out kind of fun, and John was a lot of fun to work with.
And when we first moved to LA, we moved into a garage that I converted into a living space. And in the house where we were living was this guy Thayer, who was just a brilliant creative mind. And he would just find all these, he would go to like flea markets and find just random things. And he just would make these creations just compulsively, and he would never sell them. And finally, when we were leaving, I talked him into selling me this one. So it's a coffee grinder that I used as a coffee grinder for a number of years. You could pull the grinds out and dump it in. I think I'm a better cook. She likes to cook more.
I like to cook, but Palmer happens to be a better chef, but I definitely enjoy cooking. I love spending time in the kitchen. I find it super meditative and relaxing. I like listening to music in here or talk shows, whatever. But yeah, Palmer's a better cook.
But mine end up being one pot meals.
Yeah, I like to use every pot in the house
several times over.
And as complicated as it can be. That's how I like to sort of approach the cooking. So this is our guest bedroom. Not really a lot of custom stuff in here, or pieces. This was kind of the last room, and actually when Palmer was building everything, he didn't have a workshop, and so this room was the workshop, and so it was the last room to get any attention. And so everything here is actually things we purchased besides the floating bookshelves, which kind of mimic the ones in the living room. He built those. This piece over here is actually a print, but they have originals you can get. It's from these Ghanaian artists who make movie posters, and sometimes the artist has actually never seen the movie, so the poster barely relates to it. And instead of having, which we have here, we'll have just a movie poster that the studio puts out. These artists are actually the ones making the posters, and then they'll be there sort of to promote the film. You can buy vintage ones as well, but they do have prints, and the prints are affordable. They're cheap and just kind of cool. This corner over here as well was somewhere we thought maybe it might be nice to have a seating area. So this is just a knockoff Ames chair that we found used on Facebook Marketplace. Found this awesome vintage pendant lamp that I love that was actually in our office, but we switched it over because we thought it made a little bit more sense here.
The bed was a bedspread from a Indian company that on Etsy, and both the bedspread in this room and in the primary bedroom are both from the same company.
And it's like hand block print bedspread over fabric, so you can see there's a lot of imperfection in it. Yeah, it's sort of all over it. It's not just this clean sort of manufactured look because it is handmade.
The tapestry above the bed was an Etsy purchase. There was, and I don't recall the name of the artist, they were selling 2 of their pieces. We didn't have an exact place. Initially we thought it would go in the primary bedroom, but it just seemed it worked so well in this space.
And because there's so much wall space just throughout the house, and you're getting art, and it's just art, sort of just that we wanted to mix it up where we could so that it wasn't just paintings or drawings or prints. And so Palmer, when he found this, we were pretty happy.
Yeah.
The shelves are kind of jam-packed with all kinds of stories. Definitely like the things that, I don't know, bring joy in life. One of the things both Palmer and I do is distance running. You end up getting lots of medals if you run a lot of races, but I've condensed it to my favorite medals that I've saved. This one in particular is like a piece from the Los Angeles riverbed, and the running group that I run with, Skid Row Running Club, we do a race every year where we run the length of the Los Angeles River. And so Palmer actually made these and was able to source portion of the medal. So even though there's these medals you get that everybody gets one and they buy it from a company, these handmade medals I love. I think they're just pretty cool. Palmer carved these bookends, so he did some wood carvings and made special bookends for the shelf. And this piece here, it's called Doro Dango, which is a Japanese art form where you take mud or dirt and you form it into a ball and you work it until the ball actually like almost becomes, and all it is dirt and water. It becomes like a mirror. It's beautiful. This is my first attempt at Doro Dango, which I think some people would think is not really worth celebrating because you can see it's not like the sort of perfection that Doro Dango should be. But I love that it was my first attempt, and so we saved it. And the dirt itself is from Bob Baker's Marionette Theater in Los Angeles, the original one that's no longer. Yeah. So we went and sourced dirt there. All right, let's head down the hallway. We can see the primary bedroom.
So in the hallway, we tried to do the same thing of bringing textural elements into the space rather than it just being art everywhere. And so I just went on eBay. They were all from different people. On eBay, you can tell that a lot of people were working with patterns, but then you just get such variance through the individual hands. So it's just like, I don't know, to me it's a special, and owls are special animals. I think this one is my favorite. The symmetry that they achieved with the knots here is just, I think that one, when I saw that one, I was like, oh, I have to get that one. Again, living in downtown Los Angeles is full of garbage, and so I would walk through the neighborhood and I would pick up pieces of garbage that I found, and I would make sort of these collages of the pieces, which have like, I pulled the glass out of this one, so they have like a textural element to it, and I do sort of graphite rubbings over top of it. So, and I like the fact that it's something that is discarded in an attempt to take what is looked over and make it into something hopefully beautiful. To me, I think what makes a space come alive or gives it a soul is the details. I think it needs that additional layer.
Call it like the life layer.
Exactly.
The life layer comes in and sort of like...
Yeah. It feels like people are moving away from minimalism to begin with. The Marie Kondo kind of mentality is like that if it doesn't give you joy, get rid of it. But I think like at the end, there should be a lot of objects around you then, it shouldn't be an empty space.
And just going with what feels right and maybe not getting too caught up in sort of what you see out there. Like I love it when I walk into a space and pictures are hung maybe higher or things are just a little off or different or I haven't seen it. I always think that's really neat and somebody hasn't really overly thought it out and it just feels sort of natural and strange and just who they are. I always appreciate that. Well, what inspires me is getting to know people a little bit better. I love that part of the design process because, like I said, for me, it's like more storytelling. I love that sort of like diving deep with people and getting a better understanding of who they are and then sort of like working with elements to see what makes sense. Welcome to our primary bedroom.
So this is by far the most minimal space we've ever done. I had found these great panels. They're made out of bamboo fiber, and they come in sections. There were two different patterns that were like one has this sort of more rigid human thing, and on the opposite side of the room is a more natural pattern like the flower of life, and the sort of things that more nature and maybe a more stereotypically feminine energy and a more stereotypically masculine energy, and to just have a balance in the middle of the bed being in the balance in the middle of the room. NASA and Benjamin Moore paired up together and they found out the average color of the light from the visible universe, and it's this color. It's called cosmic latte. It's a ivory tower on the Benjamin Moore chip, but they call it cosmic latte, and it's a warm white that just feels nice. Maybe it's all in my head because of this story, but I buy it. Yeah, and then beyond that, I built the bed, which is another one I used paint grade shelving material, which is generally it's all the leftover scrap when they're cutting down boards. And so it's all sort of what is considered to be ugly and to be painted over. It just has a lot of character.
And something Palmer's really good at when he's building things is making things kind of functional and convenient, which I love. And so on the beds, he has light switches that control the light above, so you don't have to get out of bed, which is really nice. And then little individual lights on either side, reading lights, along with being able to obviously like plug in your phone or your laptop. The drapes was, it was fabric we shopped locally in Atlanta, and then we worked with a woman who sewed the drapes for us. The pole itself, surprisingly, double rods with a
like a decorative wood cover.
Yeah, it's really expensive, and we were looking into them, and we didn't want to pay it. So Palmer actually built those, and it's such a, it's not that exciting, but man, I was so happy that he was able to do that because it saved us a lot of money.
With the primary bathroom, because you are seeing it from the bedroom, I wanted to build a vanity that just had some interest, that you weren't just looking at the side of a piece of wood. I built a plywood frame for it, and then used penny tile to tile sort of a waterfall on this side, so you just get it when you're coming in the space.
So in the primary bathroom, we were thinking of different things to put on the walls. I am a button collector and have been for a long time, for decades. Palmer built this button board, which is it's a cork backing, but he he actually created an image on AI and then put it onto the back of it, and then I just utilize it for my buttons, and just kind of brings a little element of fun, I think, into it. And also, if you're a button collector, you're probably collecting buttons from all over, so there's lots of good memories here.
The bathroom had it had a shower, and when we got it, it had another thing that people probably think we're crazy. I took the glass door out and then put up a rod. I just like, you don't have to see it. It's way easier to clean.
And it just gives like an added opportunity for
exactly,
like more texture,
yeah, color,
and something else in the space,
yeah,
rather than just sort of glass. Yeah, up here is just a little piece of artwork that we put, which is actually those hand-carved puppets that Palmer made of us. And he had a little picture of it, and so that's us in puppet form.
Yeah. And while this is the primary bedroom, this room is for our guests, so that's why there's not a lot of like personal things here. We went to Jordan years ago. We were driving in this nature preserve down to this place where we were camping. Got these blurry shots of her bouncing around in the back of the thing, and I love them.
Yeah, that was one of the ones maybe we didn't agree upon, but
yeah,
just because I was like, why is it just a picture of me? I feel like it should be a picture of both of us. People are going to stay here and think I put pictures of myself up, but I know he likes it, so he left it.
We lived in Portland, Oregon, and there was, I don't know if there's a thing called the Gathering of the Juggalos. It's a band called the Insane Clown Posse, and they have like these very devoted fans called Juggalos, and they paint their faces like clowns. Fago is like a big soda in the Juggalo community, and this Portland artist had done these series of sort of formal portraits of Juggalos, and I got these for Melissa's birthday one year.
But just on the record,
we are not Juggalos.
Not Juggalos.
We've never been to the Gathering.
Never been to the Gathering. Just really like the subculture. So this is our front porch. Palmer built all the furniture that came in here, and then we just shopped a lot of different fabrics and wanted to mix and match and get sort of upholstered cushions and some fun pillows and just a nice spot to hang out. And sort of the house is up a little bit, so it's really nice. You can kind of just see the street, and it's a nice place to have a drink or eat a meal.
So the sort of design motif on the back of these very heavy chairs is just the same material I used for the railing itself. So it just kind of picks up all along the edge. And then these lights I built just out of cedar that are just nice warm lanterns for the evening.
And sort of just mimic as well the same sort of patterns behind the chair, so it all sort of ties together. This stands up pretty well in the weather. It was another just like wall that sort of just felt like it needed something.
It's tough. It's like it's Georgia, and so the summertime can be a little gross. We have a nice ceiling fan, but the mosquitoes can get pretty rough.
Yeah.
So, and right now we're coming from California, it's chilly for us.
But yeah, when the weather is nice, we love getting to enjoy time out here. It's really nice.
Melissa wanted like a really special entrance.
Yeah.
So
I do love the front door too.
Yeah.
That's a great piece because it's like the first thing people see when they come into your space, and you want people to feel welcomed and warm and like you belong here. And so we went back and forth talking about like what this door should be, and then when Palmer decided to do hand notched, it was tramp art style. It turned out really cool.
And so this was another tramp art piece I did. My dad was in town. I roped him into helping cut the notches. The door knocker was we found when we were in Jordan.
And we've been holding on to it
for years.
And sort of just waiting for the right time to utilize it. And so, it was really cool once Palmer made this. It just was the perfect place to put something special. Yeah,
and then on the bottom, I have the two hobo symbols. This means this is the place. This little symbol means you can camp here, and then the two are two giant sequoia trees. This one's Melissa, this one's me. That I did a photo Xerox transfer onto the wood and then carved out some of the relief, but some of the detailing of the image is from the photo transfer that I did. And then lastly, it's just our initials I carved into the door. Home to me means comfort.
Yeah, a place that you don't really want to leave,
Yeah.
that's cozy, that you want people to come to you, kind of a thing. A safe space, for sure. Blankets within arm's reach. Yeah, really cozy. And yeah.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Hannah. Welcome to my home in Portland, Oregon. I'm excited to show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Hannah Eleanor, and welcome to my 100-year-old Craftsman home in Portland, Oregon. We've lived in this home for almost 4 years. We moved to Portland from Austin, Texas right after the pandemic in 2021 and purchased this house right away. We needed to completely renovate the kitchen and all of the bathrooms, so that's what we started doing, and we lived through a lot of that renovation. When we would visit my husband's family here, I always loved driving through this neighborhood, walking through the neighborhood, admiring the homes, and when it was time to move back, we started looking, and we didn't initially anticipate buying a home in this historic neighborhood, but when we saw that this one was available, it had great bones and just needed some help, we felt like it was the perfect spot for us. I'm from Mississippi. I'm from the Deep South, born and raised in Mississippi. I went to college at a small liberal arts school in Tennessee, so I spent the majority of my early life in the South, really influenced by the aesthetic of Southern design, being surrounded by people who love old things, antiques, this appreciation for old things, and your home being collected and layered over time is a really defining trait of Southern design, or at least the Southern design that I grew up around. And so that has really informed my style now as an adult. Welcome to my living room. When we first bought this home, the living room is really long and narrow, and I knew that we needed the sofa opposite the fireplace, and I've always wanted a big built-in bookshelf behind my sofa. I've seen this in other homes, in a lot of like English cottages, and I knew that that would be perfect in this space. So we actually had the bookshelf added, and then the other piece in this room that really needed some love was the fireplace. It had very 80s sort of beach tile around the fireplace, which was interesting. So what we did was added some additional brick here to complement the brick that was already on the sides of the fireplace, and painted the entire thing. I don't love a TV above a fireplace, but our family loves to pile up on the sofa together and watch movies, and it's just what felt practical for our space. So I knew I wanted the fireplace and the wall here to be dark so that the TV would just blend in and not stand out as a prominent design feature of the room. I'll probably sound a bit like a broken record throughout the tour because everything in my home is from an estate sale, from an antique store, inherited from someone in my family. But these chairs were actually a Facebook marketplace find. When we moved away from Austin, we sold almost all of our furniture to the buyers of our last house. So we were starting from scratch when we moved to Portland. And right when we moved here, before we even bought this house, I found these chairs on Facebook Marketplace, and I knew I wanted to do something really funky with them. Pink. I did have this pink zebra print in mind, and there's this incredible fabric store here in Portland called Mill End Fabrics, and I picked up this fabric there, snagged the chairs off of Facebook Marketplace, and immediately had them reupholstered. They were one of the first pieces that we had when we moved into the home because we were really starting from scratch. I do like to keep the mantle pretty minimalistic because I don't want to draw a lot of attention necessarily to this aspect of the room. I love old vases that sort of like remind you of something that would be in your grandmother's house. This is from an estate sale, and I have a lot of like vintage vessels and vases throughout the home. This is one of my favorite pieces. I got this at Round Top in Texas, and for any antique or design lovers, they probably know Round Top because it's just such a destination. So things are either from estate sales, antique stores, or collected from places like Round Top. On this side of the living room, we obviously have our big built-in bookshelf and our big sofa that holds our whole family. We actually had the same sofa in Austin, and we liked it so much and it was so cozy for our family to pile up on together that we repurchased the same sofa. It's a Pottery Barn sofa. The navy is just a performance navy. I had this vision of reupholstering it with something really bold and colorful, and I still may, but for now it works well in the space. I always need some animal print in my home because growing up in the South, lots of Southern design influences throughout my home. There's always going to be an element of animal print somewhere in the space. It just reminds me of the way my mom had our home decorated and all of her friends. There was always animal print in the space. So I knew I wanted to have a nice long lumbar pillow, not too cluttered with too many throw pillows, but just something that gave a nod to sort of Southern design aesthetic with the animal print. When adding this bookshelf to the room, I knew I wanted to fill it up with beautiful vintage antique books. The lower level books kind of behind the sofa are the paperback books that we read, and the more beautiful, colorful books are ones that I have collected from estate sales and antique stores over the years. And I find that estate sales are really just one of the best places to gather really interesting books, design books especially. I have so many vintage design coffee table books that I've gotten from estate sales, really amazing old Martha Stewart books and art books that I cherish and get a lot of design inspiration from. My very favorite book doesn't have the paper cover on it anymore because kids, but this is called One Man's Folly. One Man's Folly features the exceptional houses of Furlow Gatewood, and he is a Southern designer. He was a Southern designer in Georgia. He had a family compound in Georgia where he designed and decorated several different homes on the property. He was an antique collector and designer. His spaces were just otherworldly. In addition to all of the books that I have filling up the shelves, I have lots of little Easter eggs, little design elements that I've collected. Some of my favorite things that I've ever thrifted or gotten at estate sales, like the zebra, and the funky little vases at the very top that are hand painted are some of my favorites. I also really love collecting statues and busts. When I find one that really speaks to me, even if it's not in a color that works for my space, you can just paint these statues. So I really like having statues and funky little sculptures sprinkled throughout my home. Our coffee table is more of a mid-century bench, as you can see, and we do move it around a lot. It's one of our vintage finds from Austin. It's very durable, and it's taken quite the beating, and it still looks fantastic. In the back two corners of the living room, I have these two sketches that I absolutely love. I got them at an estate sale at the home of the artist, and he had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sketches, figure drawings that he had worked on over the years. These are dated 1985. I think that one might be 1987. And he had just stacks and stacks and stacks of drawings that he had done over his lifetime. There's this really incredible thrift store here in Portland called Community Warehouse, and it's actually a nonprofit. A lot of the things that are donated go to refugees and people who need support furnishing their home. One of the fundraising efforts for this nonprofit is a local thrift store. It happens to be right down the street from my home, and there are the most incredible pieces that you can find. They're really, really high quality art and furniture. They're only open a few days a week, and it's completely volunteer run, but if you have a chance to stop by, you can find some of the best antiques and art. And this piece with the beautiful gold leafing and the green fabric mat It's just one of my favorites. And a lot of the homes that I grew up in the South had a formal foyer. This house doesn't have a formal foyer. It opens directly into the living room. So that can pose a challenge, but I saw it as an opportunity to just create this little miniature foyer right here by the front door with an antique table that we actually got at a flea market in Los Angeles. It does expand, and we can add it to our dining room when we're having big dinner parties where we need to have more seating, which we do often. It's just the perfect little drop zone here. I also love collecting antique lamps and then adding some sort of contrasting shade. This shade, I think the shade's from Ballard Design, and then the lamp is an antique, and I just like I like the mix and match look. This piece is another favorite find from an estate sale. I always recommend, if you can find an estate sale at the home of an artist, do not skip those, because that's where you're gonna find some of the most incredible pieces. They had all of their artwork out in the dining room, some sculptural pieces as well as paintings. I love the kind of surreal aspect of like the chair, the proportions of the chairs are really funky and kind of off, and I really liked that. So I knew that I wanted to frame it. They were not framed. A lot of the art that I get at estate sales is not framed, so then I will get to make choices about how I want it matted and how I want it framed. I think that a mirror in an entryway is an absolute necessity, and I love this giant mirror. It's extremely heavy. It fit perfectly in this space for, again, my sort of makeshift foyer. In these old Craftsman homes, there's not a lot of closet space, and in Portland in the winter, you need a place to store your jackets, so I knew right away that I had to find a coat tree. It's one of the first things that I went out and looked for at antique stores. There's this really incredible town called Aurora, Oregon. It's about an hour outside of Portland, and it has just rows and rows of antique shops in these beautiful old homes. It's quite the destination, and I highly recommend it if you're in the area and you like to antique. I went there to source some things for the home when we moved here. I knew I needed a coat tree because you have to have a place to hang your coats in Portland. And when it's time for spring and summer, then you just kind of get to put your pretty things on there, like your hats and your baskets. When we were starting on the renovation for this home, I definitely had a vision on the colors I wanted to bring into the space. And there's a lot of color in the rest of the home, and I knew that I wanted something neutral in the living room so that the books and the art and the pillows could really stand out. So the color on the walls in our living room is Schoolhouse White by Farrow & Ball. I have used this neutral in other parts of the home as well, but it's just a great base. As you'll see as we move into the dining room, there's a lot of color. So I like having this sort of this putty white. It's not a true white. It's neutral, but it's not stark, and it just fits an old Craftsman house really, really well. Coming from Austin, Texas, we were in a ranch style house there, and I loved our home in Austin. It was adorable, but it was very, very different than these historic old Craftsman homes. So when we moved to Portland and we decided to buy and tackle this house as our project, my favorite thing about Craftsman homes is the millwork and the woodwork throughout the home, and I immediately fell in love with that. I knew that whether it was wallpaper or funky color that we were adding to the space, the millwork would kind of be the star of each room. That's something that I just really love about Craftsman homes, is the attention to detail. The kitchen had been remodeled probably in the 90s, so it was not the original kitchen. We didn't feel attached to it because it didn't feel necessarily original or authentic to the house. The bathrooms had also been redone maybe in the 90s or early 2000s in a way that, again, did not necessarily reflect the original style of the house and didn't reflect our personal aesthetic. So we knew we needed to gut the bathrooms and give the kitchen a pretty major overhaul. And besides the kitchen and the bathrooms, we really focused on paint and wallpaper throughout the home to make it feel more like our own space. Now we can head from the living room into our dining room. We found this Craftsman house really unique because it has a big open dining room. The flow of this home is really open, which I liked a lot because a lot of Craftsman houses have small rooms. Being from the South, I love to host, I love to have dinner parties, and we were excited to be moving closer to my husband's family. We knew we'd be throwing a lot of dinner parties, having people over, so we were very excited about the size of this room. This table is something else that I sourced right away when we moved here. It's from Cherish. I knew I wanted a long farmhouse style table. This one's really narrow, which is why I picked it, because I didn't want something that took up too much space, but still seats a lot of people. When the table was delivered, there was this really glossy top to it, almost like something that would be in a pizza parlor, that I was not anticipating when I found it on Cherish. So I actually refinished the top of the table myself, chipped away at that sort of glossy veneer, and then refinished it, and we love it so much more now. I really like to collect china and vintage glassware so that we can make just like casual dinner parties, really fancy for no reason at all. We'll have Friday night pizza night and eat on our best china or drink out of vintage glassware just for fun. Another thing that I've gotten really into since moving to Portland is eating by candlelight, because it can be very gloomy and very rainy so much of the year that I've found that it's very important to create special little rituals. And so even when we're just having a normal weekday dinner, we'll light candles and pour a glass of wine and try and make dinner special. And I find that having beautiful drinkware and vintage china can just help elevate the whole evening, even if you're just having takeout. This is one of my favorite sets that I have. There's gold leafing behind the flowers, and I actually won this set at auction. I'm really big on color, and so the fact that this has the metallic gold leaf with lots of color, it just spoke to me. I knew I had to have it, and I was so lucky and glad that I was able to snag it at auction. This cabinet is actually antique. It was my grandmother's. It's one of the pieces that we did bring up here. My parents have several of these library cabinets in my dad's office. They're great for books, but I've actually turned mine into a storage for all of our drinkware and kind of created our little bar. You can see I have a ton of these mint julep cups. I have these sprinkled throughout the house. Even in our medicine cabinet in the bathroom, I have toothbrushes in these cups. These cups were given to me every year by my godmother on my birthday, and so I have a lot of mint julep cups. They're great for cocktails, but they're also great for flowers and vases and just holding anything throughout the home. And so I love my mint julep cup collection. I was an art history major in school, and I studied fine art when I was studying abroad in the south of France. And so while I don't get to paint a ton now, during the pandemic, I got really into it. I got back into painting during the pandemic. And so I painted myself. I have painted all of my family members. Some of the pieces are out and about. Some of them are stashed away. I have a little art studio set up in the basement. I don't paint as much as I'd like, but I hope to get back into it one day. I have a ton of blue and white throughout the home just because I love that color combination. And this is a fabric that I found at the fabric store here in Portland, Millen Fabrics, that's so huge. It's such a huge, incredible fabric store. When I saw this fabric, I knew it would be perfect for custom drapery because it has so much body and it has a nice sheen and an interesting pattern. I wanted to have sort of a formal element to the drapes in the dining room. I have a lot of quirky antiques and art mixed in throughout the room, and so I like having sort of formal elements mixed with the less formal. This dining room has actually been 3 different colors since we moved in. I'm a very big proponent on if a color is not sitting right with you, you don't have, like, it's okay to repaint. And I put a lot of thought into the color palette of this space when we were designing it, and sometimes what you think is going to be perfect in a space doesn't work out, whether it's lighting or whether it's the way the colors flow throughout the space. So I had a little bit of trial and error in finding the right color, but when we painted it this color, I knew instantly that this was the right one. It's a bit of a terracotta, sort of like orangey color. This dining room doesn't get great light, and so I've found that this color is very forgiving, whether it's a bright day or a gloomy day. It felt perfect. Once we got it on the walls, it felt perfect. And the other 2 colors, while I love them and hope to use them one day in the future, they weren't right, and I'm glad that I kept going and experimenting until we got the right color. We didn't initially have these sconces here. These were actually in an upstairs bathroom. And when we painted the room this color, I knew I wanted to bring these down because they contrast. They're sort of in the same family, but they're a little contrasting. These sconces are from New Orleans. They're from a brand called Sazerac Stitches. I have a lot of antiques and I have a lot of old things in our home, and I knew that where I could bring in a little bit of whimsy and sort of modern elements, I wanted to. So I tried to do that with lighting in some of the rooms, and I think that it just provides a nice balance to a lot of the old things that I have throughout the space. The other thing I'll call out here is we added this sort of powder, like smoky blue on the millwork here. I love these doors. I love the French doors in this old Craftsman home, and I thought making them blue just made them stand out a little bit more and allowed us to kind of appreciate and celebrate them. I love the blue and the terracotta together, and I think it just works perfectly. Much like the modern sconces on the wall, I did want to add, you know, a bit of a modern touch with the chandelier here. My husband's very tall and he will hit his head, so I didn't want it to take up too much space. I wanted it just to offer a little bit of a modern touch, again, to kind of balance out all of the different old pieces that I have in the space. I personally have a very eclectic style. When it comes to design, especially Southern design, I think there's a spectrum. There's one end you have really, really formal design where everything is just perfect and polished, and I definitely fall on the more eclectic end of the spectrum where, you know, I'm not afraid to mix and match and clash and put things together that don't go together perfectly. And I think that would be my tip, is don't be afraid of putting things together that do not go together, and if it looks bad, that's okay. You can experiment and you can swap things out. I have a couple different sets of antique silverware, and I'll mix those together without giving it a second thought. I don't need all my silverware to match. For Thanksgiving, I like to bring out a couple different sets of china because we'll have a lot of people over, and so you'll see different plates at different place settings. I think that there's ways to bring cohesion, whether that's through your napkin rings and your napkins, or maybe your drinkware. It's okay to have plates that don't match or silverware that doesn't match because it just adds to the character of the entire tablescape. Another of my favorite things to do at estate sales or antique stores is buy empty frames. There's so much that you can do. I have painted a ton of art to put in existing frames, or I have sourced art to put in frames that I love, but I also will turn them into mirrors. I found this frame in Austin, Texas. It was not gold leafed. I added the gold leaf myself, and I took it to a glass shop and had them add the mirror. All of a sudden you have this huge statement mirror. I always highly recommend buying the empty frames. This is a piece that was in my bedroom growing up, but the other pieces are just collected from antique shops and thrift stores and estate sales over the years. I love finding quirky statues at antique stores or estate sales and finding ways to incorporate them in the space, especially ones that are kind of like odd. You know, if there's something that's a little bit odd, I like that. And I want it not to be like this perfect, beautiful, like Roman statue. I like, who is this strange old man or strange old lady? I also like kind of bringing out things from your closet and just finding a way to stage them. This necklace, this hat that I got in Texas, and then all of a sudden you have just like this little moment that's a little bit unexpected, but also creates this kind of cool focal point you wouldn't necessarily expect on a dining room credenza. This is a mid-century credenza that we sourced in Austin, Texas. There's lots of scratches on the top, but I love that. I love when a piece has scratches and character. These are the original knobs on the credenza, so we didn't want to change anything about it when we found this piece. I keep my china in here. I keep candles in here that we use for our dinners. This pair of lamps, I can't remember where I got them, but I do know that they are not old, they're new, and the lampshades are from Ballard Design. So I think this is a great example of like, not everything has to be sourced from an estate sale, not everything has to be found in an antique store. You can incorporate like funky new pieces as well, just to create that high-low balance. I'm not a stickler for symmetry. I definitely play around with this setup a lot, and it's not always quite so symmetrical, but I do think that there's something nice about having the balance in the space. Now we'll head to the kitchen. I have so many different favorite parts of my home because I put a lot of thought and detail into the space as we were designing it. While I could say the bookcase or the wallpaper in the bathroom are favorites, our kitchen is where our family spends the majority of our time. Our kitchen gets really beautiful natural light. We even pull our upholstered armchairs into the kitchen, especially in the summer. We open all the windows in the kitchen. We have wine and cheese in there in the evenings. It's just where we all as a family kind of pile up in the evenings. So the kitchen is probably my favorite part of the home. Welcome to the kitchen. We spend a ton of time in this space as a family. It gets the best natural light in the home. In the summertime, we can open all the windows in here and kind of have this indoor-outdoor living space with my son playing in the backyard, coming in and out. When we bought the home, this is one of the rooms that did need a lot of work. There was a giant island here that took up most of the footprint of the room. I knew I wanted to remove the island and I was thinking about replacing it with a big farm table, but then when we took the island out and we saw how functional this big open floor space was, my son will just do puzzles on the floor and bring his trucks in here, so we left it open. The walls in this space are schoolhouse white, just like the living room, and I knew that I wanted to do a sage on the cabinets. This was when I was picking the cabinet color. It was several years ago, and sage cabinets were having quite the moment. I still love this color. I'm just really happy with how the kitchen turned out because it's just a very peaceful place. We have a lot of bright color and wallpaper in other rooms of the house, and I just think that this one is the colors in the kitchen are very calming for me. It's a really comfortable space for us to lounge in the evenings while we're unwinding, whether it's after work and school or in the summertime when we have family in town visiting, because Portland summers are just stunningly beautiful. Growing up in Mississippi, we had a family friend in town who would throw these beautiful Christmas Eve parties. We spent every Christmas Eve with these friends who are more like family every single year. And in her kitchen, she had a wall full of oyster plates. And it's just such a fond memory for me. And I loved her collection so much that I've slowly started collecting oyster plates of my own, and I've got a couple above the sink. I'm gonna keep gathering them and hanging them on the wall. That's definitely an influence from my childhood. I think so fondly of that home and those parties that we went to, and I'm excited to have my own collection. This is a ceramic piece that I actually got at a thrift store, and I think you can find some of the best pottery at thrift stores. I always recommend picking pieces up, looking at the bottom. A lot of times they'll be dated or signed. You can find some of the most funky, like school projects or amateur pottery, and I think that that adds so much to a home when you can collect pieces like that over time. Having a big silver collection to me is another piece of Southern design that I've definitely brought into my adult aesthetic in my home. My mom's family was from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and she often tells stories about how her grandparents, they had a really big, beautiful, formal home, and they always had their silver out on display. And so not just using it sort of in a functional way, but also letting it be part of the aesthetic beauty of your space is something that I love. So I do try and leave, I leave pieces out like this to kind of be catch-alls, whether it's on a bedside table or a silver tray to gather wine glasses during a party. I think there's so many functional uses for silver that anytime I see a piece at an antique store, I'll grab it and add it to my collection. It does require a lot of polishing, but I think it's totally worth it. The table itself came from Aurora, Oregon. When we moved to Portland, I found out that there was this town about an hour away that is just known for antiques. And so we went with a U-Haul and sourced a lot of things. This table was one of the first things we got too. I've had it all over the house in our entryway, but it fits perfectly here. I got this piece at Goodwill, and it's one of my favorite thrift store finds I've ever had, because it's this big, beautiful vessel with this incredible glaze, and it looks like something that you could get at Round Top, Texas. I have gotten vessels like this at Round Top, so when I saw this in Goodwill, I couldn't believe my eyes. Obviously, I snagged it right away, but I think that That's just such a testament to patience and just being curious and popping in thrift stores and keeping an open mind. You just never know when you're gonna find like a gem like that. I have a thing about chairs for sure. I probably have too many of them because I love an interesting chair, and I think you can always find a place for a fun chair. This chair we got at a flea market in Los Angeles, and I had it reupholstered with this sort of lime and taupe zebra print. I like having a nod to animal print throughout the home if I can, because it just reminds me of Southern design aesthetics. I have a very hard time passing up an interesting chair. Sally came from Los Angeles too. She's a SoCal girl. She came from the Pug Rescue in LA. Over here on this end of the kitchen, this leads into our backyard and into our basement, but I just have a few different pieces that I've collected over time. This is a mirror that we got at a flea market in Los Angeles. We collect and use these market baskets a lot. I feel like I always have 1,000 things in my arms and in my hands, and so I really love having beautiful baskets that I can just toss water bottles and purses and backpacks into and carry the whole thing out on an excursion. So we use our market baskets, but I like to store them up there because they're pretty. This print is by an artist in Los Angeles, and I can't remember the name, probably over 15 years ago, and I just love the aerial beach shots with people in the ocean. When I was planning out the design for this kitchen, I was loving like English cottage kitchens, and I knew I wanted a couple pendants that felt like they could be hanging in some sort of British kitchen. These are actually from Etsy, and I think Etsy's a really great source for lighting. This painting is by an artist called Walter Anderson, and if you're from the Deep South or you're from Mississippi, then you know exactly who Walter Anderson is. He was an artist on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and he's known for painting a lot of like flora and fauna of that area. Really, really interesting block prints and lots of different color varieties. There's a Walter Anderson museum on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and his prints are still sold, and local artists actually fill in the color and watercolor them. And it's just, I just love the pieces. This is one. I have several other Walter Anderson pieces throughout the home. Now I'll take y'all into the primary bedroom. You can see this appreciation for old collected things throughout my home with my collection of art, which so much of it is, almost all of it is vintage or from estate sales, or thrifted or from antique stores. If it's not, then it's art that I've painted or my mom has painted. All of my furniture, everything in my home is old. It's either from an antique store, it's from Facebook Marketplace and it's been reupholstered, it's from Cherish. Everything has a story behind it. I think that the mixing of patterns and the clashing of patterns is something that I've definitely pulled from my upbringing around Southern design as a child. I love having competing wallpapers or fabrics that are competing with a wallpaper print. So you'll see that throughout the space as well. I've shared this on my TikTok before, but my biggest recommendation when it comes to decorating your home is just to not rush into it. Collect things over time, be patient. I think when we try to get everything done in a space all at once or as quickly as possible, we lose some of the authenticity that the space can really have if you wait and you collect things over time. I love the collected and layered look. So that's my biggest recommendation, is just be patient, live with what you have, and gather things, collect things over time. Play with your space, redecorate your space with what you already have, move things around and experiment and get creative. And then my other tip is buy old things. Buy old things, don't be in a rush and go out and buy all new stuff. Be patient. If you're patient and you go to estate sales or you just check out Facebook Marketplace, you can find really incredible things that add personality and character to your home. And this is our primary bedroom. This is my favorite corner of our primary bedroom. This is my bedside table. I love using my julep cups for flowers. Our lamps were from an estate sale or an antique store. I've paired them with these velvet lampshades that are actually from Urban Outfitters. So again, it just goes to show, you know, don't be afraid to mix and match high and low. I just love these velvet shades. I have another silver bowl here that usually my husband's car keys are in. It's big, beautiful vessels from Round Top, Texas. So you saw the one that the one in the kitchen's from Goodwill. This one's from Round Top. It just goes to show you can find incredible things when you least expect it. This is another frame that I've collected and added a mirror to. So I just can't recommend picking up vintage frames enough, because you can always, if you don't have art to put in them, you can always add a mirror and add it to your dresser. The dresser was one of our first pieces, maybe the first piece that we got when we moved to Portland, when we did not have a stitch of furniture, the movers had not arrived, and we needed some place to put our clothes. And we got it off of Facebook Marketplace and just went and picked it up and took it to the apartment that we were staying at. And the apartment was very modern and brand new. And I kind of loved having this vintage dresser in our like stark modern apartment. So I think that you can really, like, you can mix pieces like this in all sorts of different aesthetic spaces. It doesn't just have to be an old craftsman home. A lot of these pieces I've had in different style homes or apartments, and I think that they can work great in all sorts of spaces. The wall color is a pink color by Farrow & Ball. I can't remember the name, and it's honestly not my favorite. It's something that didn't really turn out exactly the way I wanted it to. I did find these velvet curtains that almost match the paint color perfectly. I like how the curtains and the wall color work together, which is the only reason that I'm hanging on to this wall color as long as I am. But I could see myself completely changing this room one day in the near future, so who knows. The headboard's custom made, as is this pillow. The fabric has this pattern that's both linen and velvet, and I loved it. I bought enough to have the headboard made and enough left over so that we can make a big lumbar pillow, because I wanted it to feel like a hotel room when we come in here. I do love this rug so much. This is one of the rugs that I got from my friend who deals antiques and vintage, and she finds the best pieces, so I was lucky enough to be able to buy this from her. And now I'll take y'all into the bathroom. And before we go into the bathroom, I want to show you the wallpaper in this hallway because I love it, and I intentionally picked a wallpaper that would complement but also contrast with the wallpaper in the bathroom, because I was really mindful that from different rooms in the house, you would have this line of sight through this hallway and into the bathroom. In these old craftsman homes, when the bathroom is right off the central part of the house, you want your bathroom to be beautiful. I actually hung this wallpaper myself. This was my first time ever hanging wallpaper. It went pretty well. I don't know that I'll do that many other wallpaper projects in the future because it's very tedious. I'm proud that I taught myself to do it, but I probably won't do a lot of it in the future. This is our bathroom. What was in here previously was not original to the house, and it just wasn't doing the space any favors. So we knew that it all needed to be pulled out, and it's a tight, small space, so we had to work with what we had. We needed decent storage in the vanity. I wanted real marble in the shower and the countertop. It just feels like a luxury. It's nice to appreciate the stone, and as it gets wear and tear, I just love the patina on real stone. We did a marble herringbone on the floor as well. There's a full tub in this bathroom. While it is one of our primary bathrooms in the home, we keep it very simple and clean and minimalistic so that when a guest comes in, it feels like a guest bathroom. It feels like a powder bath, and it's not cluttered with toothbrushes and hairbrushes. That makes me appreciate it so much more too, because I love coming in here and just feeling like it's a really clean, peaceful, like elevated space. The color palette and the wallpaper choices for this bathroom was one of the first things I decided on when we were planning out the design for the home. This is Red Earth by Farrow & Ball with the Cole & Sons paper. Red Earth is a color that I had picked out for the space even before I knew where I was going to use it. And then when I decided on the Cole & Sons paper, the two just came together perfectly. I knew instantly that it was the right combo for this space. And then around the time that we were finalizing the design for this bathroom, I found this little antique piece of art. And again, both the birds that complement the birds in the wallpaper and the color just felt like it was the perfect piece to hang in the bathroom. And I don't know if it's a Southern thing or not, but having a little bit of artwork hanging like right above your toilet is just something I love so much. And it reminds me of so many of the homes that I loved growing up. Throughout the home, you'll see these fun craftsman details like the privacy glass on this bathroom door and these original knobs. This is the first time that I've lived in a home where there's a window into the bathroom door, but it really does provide you with enough privacy, and it's just such a fun and special detail of this 100-year-old home. I love it. Now I'll show y'all my son's room. I've always loved design, specifically Southern design, and I've always had a deep love for social justice and politics. In Austin, Texas, I was in a social justice book club with women who are now beloved friends of mine. My dad has always been very, very into politics. He and my mom raised us in a very progressive way in the Deep South, and so politics has always been something that we've talked a lot about within our family, and I never really knew how to blend my love for antiques and decor and design with my interest in social justice and politics. It felt like two very different things, and it felt like if I was going to be sharing home decorating stuff on TikTok, it did not blend or match with politics. I was sharing a video of my home. There was pretty wallpaper in it. It was just B-roll. I kind of spontaneously decided to just put a caption out there that said something like, I love Southern design, I love wallpaper, I love decorating my house, and I'm also really into radical progressive politics. And to my surprise, that post just took off. And thousands and thousands of Southern women who also love antiques, who also love vintage cocktail glasses and decorating their homes, and who feel a bit isolated because of their progressive views in a potentially really conservative area, flocked to this post. And I started getting thousands and thousands of followers and thousands of people chiming in the comments and saying, I needed this, I feel the exact same way, I love pretty Southern things. I love hosting and dinner parties and book clubs and wine nights, and I also love social justice, and I also really believe in progressive politics and progressive policy. And all of a sudden, I found myself with this community online of, 30, 40, 50,000 people who felt the same way I did, who saw that there was a lane where we could mix our love of antiques and decor and wallpaper and dinner parties with conversations about social justice and progressive politics. Welcome to my son's room, because in our household we have played musical beds so much over the years. He has a queen size bed, because if we end up in here or have to trade beds in the middle of the night, we wanted to be sure that we were comfortable in his room too. This map is one of my first vintage purchases ever. I found it on eBay right out of college. I was just getting into antiquing, and it shipped to me in this long tube. I've had it in every home and every apartment I've ever been in, and now it's hanging over his bed. And it's just, I love the colors. I love how bright and vibrant it is. I think it makes a perfect piece over a little boy's bed. The pillow shams are also Etsy purchases over the years. This was very much the aesthetic of my home in Austin. I loved having these Killam pillows throughout the house. Now they're perfect on his bed with his stuffies. The wall color is in navy by Furrow and Ball, and I'm forgetting the name, but I love it. It's dark and it's rich. It was actually a color that I was considering for the primary bedroom, but I think it's great in here for him. This lamp is another one of my favorite combinations of a Ballard design lampshade with an antique lamp. That's actually an antique plant stand that I have set up as his bedside table because it's such a tight little squeeze over there. It was the perfect fit. There's this really cool store in Portland called Cargo, and it's got all kinds of imports from all over the world. And these masks, I saw these masks and I just thought that they would be perfect in terms of like artwork for a kid's room, and I purchased them, hung them on the walls. He absolutely loves them, and they really have seen better days. I kind of need to replace them because they've been taken off the walls and used, and they're kind of chipped now, but they're paper mache masks, and I think that they're just really fun art for a kid's room. Through the journey of moving from the South to the Pacific Northwest and renovating a home and making it our own, I've really come to appreciate that home is about the people inside, the memories that you're making in your space, the dinner parties that you're having, the family and friends that come and stay with you. Whether that's in Mississippi or Portland, it's really about just making a space your own and making it work perfectly for your family. Okay, Homeworthy, thank you so much for coming, but I'm gonna have to let you go now. Bye.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Wallace and welcome to my home in Los Angeles. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Wallace. I am a brand and marketing consultant and we are here in my home in Los Angeles, California. The home is actually an original Craftsman from the 1920s. It has a lot of the original features which you'll see throughout. We have this gorgeous wood trim and then some original tile in the kitchen. And I used to live in New York. I moved to Los Angeles at the beginning of 2024 and I saw this house on Zillow and I absolutely fell in love and just completely hounded the landlord until it was mine. And I've lived here for about a year and a half. It's just such a special place and I really, really love living here. I would describe the style in my house as kind of playing off the colors and the textures of the natural world. I think it's important to have a lot of different textures. So there's some, cane and some jute rugs. There's a bit of Sherpa around because I'm sort of grounded in the colors that I have chosen to decorate my house. I think that it's just a lot of blues and browns and greens and they just kind of play off each other, which makes it easy when I buy something, bring it home, it kind of already will work with what I have here. So we're here in the dining room. This is kind of a multi-purpose room and you'll see why. We have a bit of an entryway situation happening, but primarily the room is used for dining. I used to work partially from home and in the office, but once I transitioned to fully work from home, I needed a desk space. So this is my office area. I sit here all the time and I just really love how this came together. I didn't know if I was gonna have enough space for this, but I found this desk on Facebook and it just kind of works perfectly to separate the actual dining area from the desk area. So that's lovely. And then something else about the room that I think is a really special feature is this built-in cabinet. I saw this when I was looking at the listing photos of the home and it's just really special to have something like this because you really don't find them often. It just has a few things that I love, some menus. I do like to steal menus, you will see. So we have some from Great White there. I love the art on those. And then just some books and some pottery. I've made this and a few other things around the house. I used to do a lot of pottery. So it's just nice to have this little area where I can keep all of my treasures. I love that I get the storage, but I'm not compromising on the space here because it's built in. So that's lovely. And then again, just the trim in this room I think is amazing. There's a lot of natural light. We have 3 windows here. So in the afternoon and evening, the sun kind of goes over and then I can see the sunset out the front door, which is just really special. And then on this side, this is more of like the entryway, if you will. So I have just a table where I keep my keys and my sunglasses and I put some of my bags on the wall. And then over here, I have these 2 menus. These are very special to me because this is Found Oyster in LA. If you have never been there, you need to go. And then this is from St. Jardine, which is in New York. And I just kind of love that these are both of my favorite restaurants in places that I live and used to live, and I love it. I think it's really special and reminds me of a different time in my life and where I am now, and I always collect menus wherever I go, if I'm in Europe or where I used to live, so I think that's a really fun special detail. And then I just have a Slim Aarons print there because I love him, and I think it's just a fun, bright print. Redid the light fixture here. The one that came when I moved in just really wasn't anything special, and I just love how a paper lantern looks. It just adds a bit of warmth and a bit more texture than what was in the ceiling originally, so I swapped that out. And I love having just kind of a round dining table. I can add another chair if I'm having more people over. And the rug my mom gave me, it was in a house that we used to live in when I was a kid. And I kind of thought it wasn't going to work in this space, but it actually ties in with some of the browns on the wall. So I think it's really special to have just some pieces that tell a story about my past. I think one of the main things I was looking for was a lot of natural light. Coming from a smaller, darker apartment in New York, that was really important to me. The house also has a backyard, which was not necessarily on the bucket list, but is a huge added bonus, and I don't think I could live without outdoor space now. The other thing that's kind of quirky, but in my bedroom in New York, the bed was up against the wall, and so every morning making my bed, I would not be able to go to the other side to make it. And I kept thinking, I can't wait until the day that I have a bed where I can walk to both sides and make it, and now I can do that. Coming here, I brought some of the things that meant a lot to me, like the art, which we will see, and then I bought some new pieces that kind of worked with the space. I think it was very organic. I didn't necessarily have a way that I was hoping the home would look. It was more just, let's fill it with things that I like, that complemented pieces I already had. So it's been really exciting. I think to me, design is always kind of a work in progress. So I will do something and like it for a month and then need to change it up. But it's been really exciting kind of defining my personal style now in more of a home versus living with a roommate where you're kind of confined to one room of your style and then the rest of the home kind of being like a mishmash of everyone else's items. So I'm really lucky, and I feel very grateful that I get to have the entire space to kind of design and play around with. Okay, so now we're in the living room. I love how these two spaces kind of are connected but also separate. So over here we have a print. I actually found this print on the street in New York. It was literally someone was throwing it away, and I thought it was really cool. And I just think that saying one man's trash, another man's treasure really rang true, especially with this. I love it. I've had it for years. Very cool. Something else, I bought this pot when I was in Round Top, Texas on a work trip, and I paid like $100 at FedEx for them to bubble wrap it and ship it back to me. So again, I just think it's important to find pieces that tell a story, that spark an emotion when you look at them, because that's very special to me and reminds me of a different time in life. And then I just have a big mirror on the wall. It kind of bounces the light off and makes the room feel bigger. So love that. We have a CB2 couch here. I used to have an L-shaped sofa, but I just didn't really like the layout of the living room at that time. So I got this, which again, it kind of separates these two rooms, which I love. And then I have a layered rug situation happening. So we have a jute rug and then a Moroccan kind of tassel-y rug on top to add some warmth. And then something that I love in the living room, I made this bowl in my pottery class, and then I filled it with these rocks that I got on a trip when I was in Barcelona at the beach. So a lot of things in my house are from somewhere else that just tell a story about my life and places I've been. I actually bought these chairs before I bought the couch. I just wanted something that had texture. I love that they're kind of Sherpa-y, and really no one ever sits in them, but that's okay. They look nice and I think they're cool. So that's fun. In this corner here, we just have a little rattan lamp. I had wanted this for a really long time and I didn't buy it. And I think if you keep thinking about something for a really long time, that is kind of your sign to pull the trigger versus impulse buying. So after like 3 months of thinking about it, I bought it and I love it. And I have some just books down there. I just really like books. I think they add a lot to a space, and I think it's especially cool if they tell a story. So I've got those. We have this lovely ficus. It's great and get some light there. And then here we just have my TV cabinet. This is actually huge underneath, so I keep a lot of like spare linens and things under there. And then I've just decorated it with some coffee table books that I've collected over time, along with a ton of matches from my favorite places in New York, LA, all over. And then some sand dollars that I found on a beach trip. So again, I just kind of collect these things and then display them all over my house. The other thing that I did in the living room was I installed these sconces. I literally just drilled a hole into the wall and connected them. They're not hardwired, so I have a battery operated light bulb, and I just think they're great for movie nights. My mom is she wouldn't call herself an interior designer, but she has that kind of trait. She owns a home interiors store in North Carolina, so I think growing up she would always drag me to Round Top, Texas, to antique markets. We would go on road trips and find a lot of quirky things that at that time I thought were super strange. But that definitely is a trait that I now emulate, where I'm always looking for those kinds of things or picking things that are a little bit harder to find that kind of mean something to you. So that was definitely and has been an inspiration. A lot of times I'll buy something or I'll be in a store and send her a photo and say, would this look good in my house? If I think it will, she might say no, and vice versa. But it's kind of always fun to have someone else to bounce ideas off of. And whenever I go back to North Carolina, I do go in her store and steal a lot of things that you'll see around the house. But yeah, I think the inspiration for designing this was just playing off of the California aesthetic almost. Again, there's like a lot of natural light, so I feel like I didn't really have to do much with decor, because once 5 o'clock hits, even in the morning, the light floods in and it's so beautiful, and it would be beautiful on a blank wall. Okay, so we're now leaving the living room and entering the bedroom. The bedroom is one of my favorite places in the house because it's just so serene. I really have very minimal color in here because when I go to bed, I just like it to be crisp and white, and I just love how that kind of almost feels like a hotel in a way. So I just have this really lovely linen bedspread and pillows that just feel like a cloud. It's wonderful. And then I have this print. People ask me about it all the time. I bought this print on Facebook Marketplace. It was like $10. And then come to find out, it's by a lovely artist who I became friends with on the internet post buying this. But it's an original canvas and it's just really cool and kind of again tells a story. I feel like everything tells a story in here. My nightstands were also from Facebook Marketplace. I bought them when I moved in just because I needed something, and I ended up keeping them. I love them. I love like the kind of black and white and blue color story that I have going on. And above the bed, I have this kind of small print. It's a poem from a former colleague, her husband. And it just says winter dreams of summer love, and I don't know, I love how that sounds, so I hung that there. And I kind of like how it's small against the big wall. Again, just feels really nice. On the bed, I think having a duvet cover is really the most elite bedding you could possibly have. This one is actually from my mom's home store, which is wonderful. I think I might have shoplifted that, so Mom, if you're watching, apologies. But it's just very comfortable. Linen gets softer with each wash, and going to bed every night just feels like I'm sleeping on a cloud. And I love having this really long body pillow. It just adds a bit more flair to the bed, but the colors are still muted, which is nice to kind of keep in line with this very neutral vibe that I have going on. The other thing that I love are these sort of sheer curtains that I have. So I'm still getting all of the natural light. I'm just not seeing completely outside, which is really nice. My favorite space in the home is definitely a toss-up between my bedroom or my kitchen. I love my bedroom because it's pretty serene in there, and every morning the sun rises and I get just such a beautiful sunrise kind of picture of the leaves playing on my closet door, which I just absolutely love waking up to. But my kitchen, which people on the internet kind of obsess over, is very beautiful. It has original tile from the 1920s and it's yellow and it's light all day long, and it's a really special place. And I love to cook, so I love being in the kitchen. Quick pit stop here. Nothing crazy to talk about, but I do love the beadboarding on the bathroom. It kind of reminds me of being back home in North Carolina in the summer. There's just something really nostalgic about it. And right before I moved in, the bathroom was remodeled. So we have brand new tile in the shower and on the floors, which is amazing because it is such an old house. So it's nice to kind of have a few features that have been kind of kept up with the times. And I think tile can really make or break a space, so it's nice that this is sort of a bit more new and modern. Okay, so now we've made it to the kitchen. This is arguably my and most people on the internet's most favorite space in the entire home. The tile is original from the 1920s, so that is just such a special detail that we have. It's also butter yellow, which everyone is kind of obsessing over right now. One thing I love about the kitchen, especially this one, is that I have this window here above the sink that I get to look at. So if I'm cooking or doing dishes, I have this beautiful view of my backyard. Coming from an apartment that was very dark, it's just really special to have a ton of natural light, especially doing something that takes time that I love, like cooking. I get to do it in such a beautiful space. Another thing that's special about the kitchen, when I moved in, there was nothing on the walls, and I actually built these shelves myself. So I went to Home Depot and had a piece of wood cut and came home. It's really not that special, but I think the shelves added a ton of character, and now I kind of get to display special things to me. So these bowls I made in my pottery class, and just some cookbooks that I love, but a fun little detail. And it doesn't necessarily cost a lot of money sometimes to make a space feel really great. So moving on, this print is by the same artist, Rose Liddell, who did the one in my bedroom. This was part of the like $15 Facebook Marketplace find. I just love it. It's really cute, and I love it when you walk in the front door, you get a straight shot of looking at the house rules. So that's that side of the kitchen. Coming over here, probably the most special piece in the kitchen and maybe the home is the stove. The stove was not original to the home, but it is an antique stove that kind of fits in with the vibe of the kitchen. People are very confused about how this works. So it's actually a gas stove, which is amazing. And then it just has this cover. So if I'm not cooking, that kind of acts as like a counter surface. Same with this is a little counter surface. And then we have the oven there. It's just such a cute feature. It has these little claw feet and it's yellow, and I love the charm of it. And then I have this sort of stainless steel table here with my caraway pans that I love. And then this print that I bought at an estate sale for $5, and I framed it. When I moved in, this was sort of hanging here, and initially I was going to take it off the ceiling because I didn't like it, but I've really fallen in love with it. And I love hanging my strainers here and my oven mitts that are very worn, and I probably need new ones. The other thing about the kitchen that's very special is the floor. So this is the original checkered linoleum floor from the 1920s. I think when I saw the listing photos of this property, seeing the floor really made it feel super special and unique, and that was kind of one of those things where I thought I really want to live here. We also have this area underneath the sink for storage. And something actually about the entire kitchen is there's a ton of storage in the built-ins, which we will look at, but I did add this little curtain. I think it's just so dainty and cute and kind of plays into that historical kitchen vibe without being cut off with a piece of wood. So it just adds to the charm. Something else I really love about the kitchen is the hardware on all of the cabinets. Because it was original to the home, it's not your typical knob. It's kind of this older little knob, but I just think they're so charming and sweet, and I love that. And I have a ton of storage up here as well as down there. I really don't even fill all of it. But this little built-in nook is very cute. I have another menu from a barbecue restaurant in Charleston where I went to college, my favorite restaurant, and a little coffee area. But I just think having this storage without compromising space is a really great feature of the home. A lot of the time I'll post pictures of my house on the internet, or people will come over and kind of ask to help style their homes or design advice that I could give. And I think piece of design advice that I received that I really hold true is that if art or something you're buying means something to you or tells a story, then you'll never get tired of it. And I have really taken that into consideration when buying things and decorating my home. And a lot of things here tell a story or were from a place I traveled to, or just have a bit more meaning. I think it's important. It's more important to find something that has meaning than just buying a lot of random stuff to fill a home, because you will get tired of it over time. And I don't think you can really define your personal style just by trying to buy a lot of things. So I think it's just really important to make sure that the items in your home have meaning to you. Okay, so now we're in the backyard patio situation. We've got this lovely sort of covered porch that you walk out onto. So I've got a table here, and then if you follow me back into the backyard, we have this wonderful open patio. I have a little herb garden here and a soaking tub for the hot summer days. And then I just put a rug and some outdoor furniture. I've got some tomatoes growing, but this area is just so special. I host friends out here. I sit out here in the afternoons, and I installed some string lights as well. So it's just such a fun area, and I feel very grateful to even have outdoor space, especially coming from New York. It's really just such a game changer. And it's very lush and private back here, which I love. I think home to me means somewhere that I can relax, I can have people over, somewhere that kind of feels like an outward extension of who I am. And at the end of the day, somewhere that I am excited to go home to, and somewhere that I'm excited to wake up in. Thanks so much for stopping by, Homeworthy. Come by anytime.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.